Good morning, good morning, everyone. Let's get started with our seminar, The Political Vision on the EU's Constitutional Future. We have a program today. Welcome to all of you for being present. This is a S&D group seminar, and this is a very important topic going into the future conference on the future of Europe. And I'm very pleased to have several personalities today, but particularly for the opening, Iratxe Garcia Perez, who is as you know, the president of the Socialists and Democrats at the European Parliament. He's also a Spanish socialist like myself. We're members of the same delegation, and we know each other from a long time, and I'm very happy, Iratxe, that I know your agenda. We all know your agenda is. I'm not going to describe it, but I'm really we are very thankful, myself and the colleagues from the AFCO working group, that you made the time to be with us, and also Paul Magnette, the party leader of our sister party in Belgium, and a European intellectual in its own right. And also, we are very much looking forward to your views on this matter. So, Iratxe, por favor.
Thank you, Domenic, and thank you all of you to be here, because I always understand that when we are in a special moment in Europe, your presence here is a clear message for the commitment in our group to work together in this conference, Future of Europe. I will speak in Spanish, maybe some of you will need translation. Y comenzar, por supuesto, agradeciendo a Domenic y a todo el equipo de la Comisión AFCO por esta iniciativa, porque, sin duda alguna, desde el Grupo de Socialistas y Demócratas estamos poniendo un interés especial en esta conferencia sobre el futuro de Europa, conscientes de que la ciudadanía en las últimas elecciones nos dio un mensaje muy claro en las elecciones europeas. Nos dijeron que querían Europa, pero una Europa distinta. Y es nuestra responsabilidad como progresistas, como socialdemócratas, contribuir a que esto pueda ser una realidad y a que la transformación del proyecto europeo se haga desde una visión transversal y se haga entre todos y todas. La parte de responsabilidad que tenemos como familias políticas europeas, creo que es importante también tener hoy aquí a Sergej como presidente del Partido de los Socialistas Europeos, la parte que tenemos también como Parlamento y, sin duda alguna, la capacidad que podemos tener de incluir a la sociedad civil, a la ciudadanía, a las organizaciones, a los jóvenes en este debate tan interesante. El 9 de mayo celebraremos el 70 aniversario de la Declaración Schuman, la cual puso en marcha la creación de la primera comunidad europea. Ese día empezó una aventura única en el mundo y en la historia. Los países europeos eligieron libremente unir sus destinos para garantizar la paz y para mejorar la vida de la ciudadanía. En esa misma declaración ya se mencionaba que Europa no se haría de una sola vez, sino que a través de una evolución constante y mediante cambios concretos, los cuales se basan de facto en la solidaridad. Fijaros, solidaridad, uno de los principios fundamentales, de los valores fundamentales del proyecto europeo, pero también nuestro, de la socialdemocracia. Hay otra referencia, una reflexión que a mí me gusta hacer en estos espacios abiertos de debate, ¿no? Cuando hemos hablado de la crisis del proyecto europeo, al mismo tiempo muchas veces hemos hablado de la crisis de la socialdemocracia. Y yo creo que esto ocurre porque tenemos muchas cosas en común, el proyecto europeo y la socialdemocracia, y sobre todo tenemos lo más importante en común, que son los valores que conforman el proyecto europeo. Y, por lo tanto, cuando esos valores están puestos en entredicho por parte de una parte de la sociedad, también están puestos en entredicho como valores fundamentales de nuestra familia política. Y eso lo que nos exige es ser conscientes de que esos valores son los mismos que defendíamos hace 20, hace 30 años. La solidaridad, la justicia, la tolerancia, la diversidad. Tenemos que seguir defendiendo los mismos valores, pero en un mundo que ha cambiado mucho y muy rápido. Y entonces lo tenemos que hacer de otra manera, distinta a cómo actuábamos en el inicio del proyecto europeo. A día de hoy, la Unión se afronta nuevos retos como la lucha contra el cambio climático, el aumento de las desigualdades, la transformación digital y, desafortunadamente, también el deterioro de nuestro Estado de Derecho y de la oleada de populismos y de nacionalismos. La Conferencia para el Futuro de Europa es una oportunidad única para actualizar la Unión y sus instituciones, para hacerlas más capaces de afrontar estos cambios y estos retos. Y esta oportunidad no podemos perderla. Podremos equivocarnos en el camino, pero lo que no podemos hacer es renunciar a intentarlo. Evidentemente, a día de hoy disponemos de más recursos y mecanismos para facilitar la participación de la ciudadanía y de la sociedad civil, y por eso trabajaremos para que se incluya una participación amplia de varios sectores de la sociedad que sea representativa en términos de género, de edad y de origen geográfico. Esta cuestión la hemos dejado clara en la resolución que aprobamos en este Parlamento Europeo. Está Gabi Bisov con nosotros, nuestra compañera que formó parte del equipo de negociador y que para ella y para el resto de compañeros y compañeras de este grupo era una cuestión esencial que queríamos que se reflejara en esa resolución, el cómo podemos ser capaces de garantizar los equilibrios de género, geográficos, de edad y la participación de la ciudadanía. Jean Monnet dijo que no estamos aquí para unir estados, sino para unir personas. Algunos parece que no han entendido esta cuestión y siguen hablando tan solo desde una perspectiva nacional. No se dan cuenta, o quizá no quieren, que Europa nos suma, que juntos somos más fuertes y que en un contexto geopolítico cada vez más complejo necesitamos reforzar nuestra voz. No estamos aquí para construir mercado, estamos aquí para construir una comunidad, que es mucho más. Y es por eso que ha llegado la hora de reforzar la democracia europea y de recordar que estamos aquí para mejorar la vida de las personas. Cuando uno o una decide estar en política, lo hace pensando en cómo nuestro trabajo se traduce en mejorar la vida de las personas. Y, por lo tanto, esta idea debe de mantenernos firmes en el compromiso de trabajar en esta línea. Durante mucho tiempo, la Unión ha descuidado su pilar social. Las dos caras, y estas son las dos caras de la misma moneda, no ha dejado de aumentar la desigualdad y la pobreza, y esto ha aumentado el populismo. Cuando nos preguntamos por qué aumenta el populismo en Europa, claramente tenemos que hacer una reflexión autocrítica. Nos hemos equivocado en políticas que se han puesto en marcha. Eso ha provocado que aumenten las desigualdades y el aumento de las desigualdades es el caldo de cultivo para los movimientos populistas que utilizan ese mensaje fácil que la ciudadanía quiere escuchar para poder atraerles a sus posiciones. Y es indispensable que hagamos esa reflexión. En estos 70 años Europa ha conseguido grandes logros y debemos reivindicarlo con orgullo. Igual que reconocemos los errores, tenemos que reconocer que hemos conseguido grandes logros. La ciudadanía europea, por ejemplo, es una gran conquista. El Tratado de Lisboa ha fortalecido el papel del Parlamento Europeo, y el Parlamento somos la única institución europea elegida directamente por los ciudadanos y ciudadanas, y por lo tanto esa es una forma de democratizar más la Unión. Pero no es suficiente, y espero que esta conferencia para el futuro de Europa abra nuevos espacios para enriquecer el debate y para definir nuevas e innovadoras ideas. A estos 70 años hemos recorrido un largo camino y la familia europea se ha extendido. Al principio eran solo 6 países, hemos llegado hasta 28. Con gran tristeza despedíamos la pasada semana a uno de ellos, al Reino Unido, y espero que esto también nos haga reflexionar sobre esta necesidad de repensar el proyecto europeo. Mirar hacia atrás para ver el recorrido que se ha hecho es un ejercicio necesario. Siempre es necesario mirar hacia atrás. Y también nos recuerda todo lo que nos une. Pero aún más importante es mirar hacia el futuro de forma optimista. Como diría el poeta, esa senda no se ha de volver a pisar. No podemos caer en la nostalgia. Creo que es algo importante porque muchas veces en estos debates hay una parte de nostalgia que nos envuelve a todas y a todos y nos impide avanzar. Y yo creo que no podemos caer en la nostalgia. Hay que construir Europa cada día. Y para ello tendremos una gran responsabilidad desde el Grupo de Socialistas y Demócratas y desde toda la familia socialdemócrata europea para que este sueño de Europa se haga realidad. Estoy convencida de que este workshop será un buen instrumento, se presentarán ideas interesantes, será el inicio sobre el cual tendremos que ponernos en marcha. Y termino volviendo a agradecer vuestra presencia aquí, porque es un significado importante que quienes estáis aquí estáis convencidos del trabajo y del compromiso que tenemos que llevar a cabo. Siento mucho no poderme quedar durante la celebración del workshop. Domenech me pasará, estoy segura, toda la información, las aportaciones y, como digo, este es un comienzo del camino en el que nos queda todavía mucho que recorrer y yo quiero hacerlo con todos vosotros y vosotras. Gracias.
Bueno, Iratxe, muchísimas gracias. Yo no he dicho al principio que tenemos interpretación en inglés, francés, alemán, español, italiano, portugués y rumano. Y yo te quiero agradecer tu intervención antes de despedirte, porque además ha sido una intervención sustantiva. He anotado algunas cosas que me han parecido interesantes, en particular, quiero decir, la relación entre la crisis europea y la crisis de la socialdemocracia y la necesidad de actualizar la Unión y sus instituciones, has dicho. Y eso también creo que pone un listón alto a nuestra ambición para este workshop y para lo que vendrá. Gracias, de verdad. Maintenant, encore une fois, cher Paul, cher président du Parti socialiste en Belgique, nous sommes vraiment très heureux de t'avoir. Nous sommes aussi que tu es très engagé, toujours, et pour nous, était très important d'avoir ce lien avec les partis, aujourd'hui, je veux dire, pour ce débat, avec les partis que nous représentent ici en Belgique. Nous sommes des parlementaires européens, nous avons des autres membres de la grande famille sociodémocrate, le président du parti, bien sûr, Sergej Stanishev. Nous avons Joao Rodrigues, président de notre think tank sociodémocrate, FEPS. Nous avons la présidente de la jeunesse socialiste européenne, Alicia. Nous avons cherché d'avoir, et bien sûr Iratxe, qui vient de partir, nous avons cherché d'avoir pour le début de notre séminaire tous les acteurs de la grande famille sociodémocrate européenne et tu viens ici en qualité de notre hôte socialiste en Belgique pour tous nous. Mais comme je disais avant, tu es aussi une personnalité qui a pensé beaucoup à l'Europe. Tu as rédigé ton travail de doctorat sur la citoyenneté européenne. Tu as écrit pas mal de livres. Aussi un livre que j'ai trouvé dans une librairie européenne, Librebook, prédisait un livre sur Pasolini, que tu as écrit aussi. Donc, nous avons vraiment un intellectuel. Et nous sommes, je suis sûr que je parle pour tous, très intéressés à connaître tes idées sur l'avenir de l'Europe, sur cette conférence sur l'avenir de l'Europe. Et si tu peux lire aussi notre document que nous avons préparé comme député de la Commission des affaires constitutionnelles sur notre idée comme sociodémocrate pour l'Union politique de l'Europe. Donc, cher Paul, à toi la parole.
Muchas gracias. Good morning, everyone. I'm very pleased to be here, and I think it's very important we have this discussion this morning at the start of the process, because we all know there will be a debate about the future of Europe, but until now, no one knows what this process will be. No one knows what we will make of this process, and we as Social Democrats have a very important role to play to define this process, and my introductory remarks will go into this direction. I would like to start by saying a few words about the Brexit, because a few days ago, we were all very sad to see that a big country, one of the oldest democracies in the world, left the EU. And whatever we think of the arguments of the pro-Brexit, whatever we think of the fairness of the campaign, it is a fact. A big people in Europe decided freely, sovereignly, that they would be happier outside the EU than inside the EU. And this is a fact, and a very important one. It is very important not just for the EU, but especially for us, socialists, because we all also know that many people who voted for the Brexit, very many people who made the difference in the yes, were people who for a very long time had believed that progress, social progress, solidarity were the strongest values, and who in the end changed their minds and thought that, well, maybe the nation and the isolation would be a better answer to their questions and anxiety than the progressive politics they had believed in. And this is a very deep existential crisis, not just of the EU, but also of social democracy. When the red wall of the Midland falls, and the people in this region who have voted Labour for generations decide to vote to have the Brexit done, it's a question which is not just a question for our Labour friends, who remain friends, of course, and part of the European Socialist Party, but for all of us. And this is the reason why I think we should take this exercise, this reflection, debate, forum on the future of Europe very seriously. The EU needs a deep constitutional reform, and we need to say that. This exercise is not a constitutional exercise at that stage. It is just a political debate about the future of Europe. We need to make it a real constitutional exercise. We need to explain to the citizens that if we do not manage up to now to implement the policies that we believe we need to transform Europe and make their life better, this is in part, but in large part due to the fact that the rules of the game in the European Union are not fair. The rules of the game are not fair. The treaties, as they exist today, are not an impartial constitution which organizes the competition between different visions of the world, and the one who wins can implement the policy. They are an unfair set of rules which structurally favors liberal and conservative politics against progressive and green policies. And this is an argument that we need to make, even if this is not an easy argument in the political debate. The Single European Act was not fair because it organizes the internal competition and the fiscal and social competition within the EU. And if a German worker in the steel industry nowadays thinks that his enemy is a Bulgarian worker and not the big finance or the big multinationals, this is a big issue. And this is due to the fact that the rules of the game are unfair. The Maastricht Treaty is not fair either. The Maastricht Treaty favors one kind of monetary policy and one kind of economic coordination, which is structurally in favor of conservative and liberal policies. And the Stability Pact of 2006, Pact, 2 Pacts, and so on, the post-2008 answer of the EU to the financial crisis, is the most unfair set of rules we've ever had, because it makes austerity the only possible policy and impedes all kinds of policies that we as progressive and socialists would like to not just conceive, but also implement at all levels in the EU. So yes, we have to have those two kind of debates on the issues. How do we have answers to address the concerns of the citizens, but also the debates about the democratic organization of the EU and the rules of the games, which will never make it possible to have a real progressive policies if we do not change them. We have to make this constitutional agenda a real agenda, and we as socialists have to say that if no one else says it. It's not just about more integration against less integration, more federalist against less federalist. It's about making sure that all political voices are heard in the EU, and that when you get a majority, you can implement the policies for which you have won the support of the citizens, which is not the case nowadays. So yes, of course, the Green Deal is very, very important, and we have to make the Green Deal the big struggle of the socialists. There are no Greens in the European Commissions, there are little Greens in the national governments, there are Greens in the European Parliament, but we are much more important than the Greens, and we are Greens ourselves. So we have to make this a struggle of the socialists and say that, yes, the Green Deal can be, for Europe, an opportunity to really reshape and deeply reshape its own set of policies. The Green Deal can be, for our generation, what Keynesian reconstruction of Europe was for the generation of the post-World War II generation. They used the necessity of reconstruction to support wide investments everywhere in the EU, and this improved the life of millions and millions and tens of millions of people. Today, we need green investments everywhere, not just support for the big green tech, which is already struggling to get all the subsidies and say we need private more than public investments, but we need green investments in public mobility. We need green investments in a better isolation of the social housing. We need green investments in a green agriculture and organic agriculture to make organic food available and affordable for all citizens. And we need to shape this idea that by investing, public investing also, and not just private investing, everywhere in the transformation of our ways of producing and consuming in the EU, we will make the life of people better. They will live better tomorrow. Today, many, many people, especially people voting for us, people from the middle class, people from the working class, do fear this green transition. They think this is something for the rich people. They think this is something for the new intellectual generation living in the multicultural urban centers and not for them in the parts of the country. We need to convince them that by the kind of Green Deal, social Green Deal and fair ecological transition that we will support, this will be for them and this will improve their life, their health, the cohesion of their community. Second, we should not forget our key social agenda also. It's very good that we all speak of green, but we read first and foremost. We made, I think, a very interesting job, a group of people with Paul Rasmussen in this report, and I'm very sad that no one speaks of this report, because I think it's the best intellectual contribution of the social democracy of the last 10 or maybe even the last 20 years. This idea of a sustainable equality. We need to fight for sustainable equality, and equality on the one hand and sustainability on the other hand are the two faces of the same coin. It's a very sophisticated document. I really recommend reading it, because it was really a way of thinking of how we can change the policies and the decision-making process altogether, how we have to completely reshape and reframe not just the Stability Pact, but the whole system of the semesters and the coordination of the economic and social policies, and reconnect this to very simple and clearly defined social targets. One of the objectives that we defined in this report, I say we, but I was a member with many, many others, and Liina and many others were members of this group too, under the very efficient leadership of Paul Rasmussen and our friend Katseli, was the idea that we can, if we want, eliminate child poverty in 15 years in Europe. It is possible. We made all the calculations. We know how to do. We know that offering housing, education, health, access to a good food quality to all children in the European Union, north and south, east and west, will make it possible to eradicate poverty in the EU. It is incredible that we do not manage to get big issues like that. China has incredibly reduced poverty. India has reduced poverty. Africa is in many countries reducing poverty. We Europeans are not. We are not reducing poverty anymore, and this has been the case for the last 30 years. How is this possible that we, the richest continent in the world, are not able to simply take such an important and such a moving target as one of the purposes that we could have? So yes, well, and this is one of the objectives that talks to everybody. Everybody thinks that fighting poverty is important, from the left to the right, and that eliminating child poverty, because of course we all have a lot of sensitivity for children, by definition, that this is something that can be a global objective supported for everyone. And of course, when we fight against child poverty, we fight against poverty tout court for the next generations. We can eliminate the process, and this should be one of the big targets of the EU. Going hand in hand with this ecological transition, which is completely complementary with this social purpose. So let's, dear friends, let's make this debate about the future of Europe a big political event. It's not sure this will be the case. It might be yet another talk shop in the EU. It might be yet another forum, and we will spend a lot of time discussing about the Presidium, how many members of the EP Commission, Council, who will be the leader, vice president, what will be the process, and so on and so forth. Okay, let's take the time to talk about that. We need to fix that. That's the base of the process. But then let's say that this is a very, very important process that we want the socialists and the Democrats in the European Union to be the driving force of this debate about the future of Europe. It is a constitutional discussion. It is a discussion about values and the struggles that we as social democrats want to put at the center of public debate, and about the rules of the games which needs to be changed if we want to achieve those ends. Thank you very much, and I wish you a very good discussion.
Well, Paul, thank you very much for this keynote speech. Something I did not mention before, you also ran for the European elections and you won, which is important because also in order to change policies, we also need to have a political majority in Europe, and we are still, the second group in the parliament, so we need to also be able to score more wins like you did here in Belgium. But if you have a couple of minutes before you go, just to comment on your speech, I think that you are putting in our radar the need to have a social constitution in Europe, because it is true that if you look at the current treaties, going back to the Single European Act and the Maastricht Treaty, constitutions have two main components. One is procedures and the other is objectives, policy objectives. And it is true that on the content of the current constitution, so to speak, there is a neoliberal bias, that I think your speech has highlighted, and I think that's very important to us, the social dimension going forward, the social pillar. At the same time, constitutions have also procedures, and it's in that context that we may want to have also, in addition to your pitch for a social constitution in Europe, which I support, I think all of us support, also the question of federalism, because you also know that social policy in Europe or tax harmonization in Europe, you were talking about fiscal competition, we could have done more on that, but we have been blocked by unanimity in the Council. Yeah? So this is a reality. So that's why procedures have also to be part of the discussion. I don't think it's one or the other. You will just add to the goals you said in order to have a social pact. And I always wonder when we look at the Stability and Growth Pact that we have these punitive sanctions for debt and deficit, but you don't have a punitive sanction for having high unemployment. No? So this gives you an idea of where the priorities at the time of the Maastricht Treaty were put. But thank you very much, Paul, for being with us. I hope we can continue this cooperation and having you and the friends from the Socialist Party in Belgium contribute to our discussions, because we are in Belgium, so we have to take advantage of that. Thanks again.
Thank you.
And now we are going to proceed with the first panel. We have already Sergej in the table. Sergej is the president of the Party of the European Socialists. I think we have to move the other panelists to the table now, no? Yeah. So Maroš Šefčovič is not here. We will see the video message. We have Klara Dobrev, who is our Parliament's Vice President. So we have the organic part of the family, but also we have the institutional part represented here. Probably here. I think we're going to come with the tax now. Good morning. Alicia, the leader of the Young European Socialists. Liina Carr, the Confederal Secretary of our friends and companions of the trade unions. Welcome, Liina. Barbara Duden, the Vice President of the PES Group in the Committee of the Regions and the CIVEX President. Barbara, welcome and thank you for being here with us. And Johannes Koskinen, the Member of Parliament in Finland, in the Finnish Parliament. Welcome. Johannes, welcome. So I'm thrilled to have you all because, as I said before, this is a seminar. By the way, I didn't say it at the beginning because so many things, but I want to also thank, apart from all the interested parties that are in the room, particularly my colleagues from the AFCO working group that are present, Giuliano, Vladimir, Gabi Bishop, who also will speak later, Mia Petra as well. Well, I see Crystal, who is not from AFCO, but is a MEP from our group, Rafael Glucksmann as well. I hope I'm not missing any other member. So thank you for, well, Mark Tarabella, I see. So thank you for being here, and thank you to the panelists because, as I said before, we wanted to have the overall social democratic family represented in a constitutional debate. No? Yes. So that's why we have a Committee of the Regions, we have National Parliament, we have Sergej, President of the party, Klara, Vice President of the Parliament, we have Liina from the trade unions because we don't want to do this debate you know, with our most important referent as a party of the working class outside you know, the political party structure, and Alicia, because, well, you represent the young socialists, so I'm sure you also have ideas for the debate coming from the youth wing. So thanks again. I think we start by the video from our commissioner, who couldn't be here, Maroš Šefčovič, who is a socialist commissioner in charge of the Conference on the Future of Europe. So let's start with the video, and then I'll give you the floor. Thanks. So I don't know. Do I have to put the sound? Or I don't know how to do it.
No. I think they have to.
Very timely, as it is taking the place shortly after the withdrawal. Dear Iratxe, dear Paul, dear Sergej, dear Dominic, dear friends, I'm very glad to see that our political family is taking the initiative to discuss a political vision of the EU's constitutional future. Unfortunately, I cannot be with you in person, but let me contribute with a few following remarks. This discussion is very timely, as it is taking the place shortly after the withdrawal of the United Kingdom from our European family. It is the right moment to continue with fervor to join forces and build a common future. We are much stronger when we share a vision as institutions, as nations, and as people. Therefore, it's crucial, even in the case of our constitutional future, that we engage with our national parliaments, social partners, civic society, or academia. Precisely in the spirit of today's workshop. It proves once again that our political family is well placed to reach out and serve as a link to our societies. Needless to say, our citizens must be in the center. Many Europeans remain concerned about their future, and the European Union has to show that it can listen and provide answers. People's voice must be reflected in our strategic priorities. The upcoming first ever conference on the future of Europe will be a perfect opportunity for us to engage with citizens. I'm glad that our family is taking the lead in shaping this important agenda as well. First, I am convinced that for the conference to succeed, it must be a truly pan-European exercise reaching every corner of Europe. For this, all three institutions must be in sync, and again, national parliaments, regional and local actors be on board. Secondly, a feedback mechanism of the debates must be designed in a way that it is a true game changer. The ideas expressed should result in concrete recommendations for future EU action. It is yet to be seen whether this includes constitutional reforms, or whether we will use tools currently at our disposal but not fully exploit to implement and strengthen our European democracy. Dear friends, I will be keen to know the outcome of your discussions today, and I'm also looking forward to a continuous reflection with you so that our European rendezvous with citizens in May 2024 will see them inspired and engaged.
Okay. We had this very nice video, even with the European flags flying in the background. So that's very good weather. That's very nice of Maroš, and also a few substantial points. Just a reminder that we're being web streamed. I didn't say at the beginning, so we may have some people following us outside, which I think is a good thing. And I encourage you, because we will try to come up with a publication. So if you are kind enough after the seminar to send, if you have your written notes for your presentation, so we'll try to put them together. And now I'm happy to give the floor to my friend and colleague in the Socialist group, Klara Dobrev from Hungary, and the European Parliament Vice President for your presentation.
Well, thank you very much, and thank you very much for this opportunity, but let me make a step ahead of our Commissioner Šefčovič. Because you can see that the world has changed in the last 10 to 15 years. And some of the changes are wonderful and good. And some of them, how to be polite, well, they are challenges, actually, to all of us. The United States, which was alive for 70 years after the Second World War, now has a president who is not so interested in a stronger European Union. Or we have Russia, which was a partner after the collapse of the Soviet Union for long years, and now he's attacking its neighbors, among them our neighbors as well. And then we have China becoming one of the global superpowers, and still we don't see what are they going to use their power for. And of course we have the climate change, we have the digital transformation, we have the Brexit, and you name it. And then on the other hand, we have some changes within our European Union. I think, unfortunately, the memories of the 2008-2009 global crisis have not disappeared. The memories taught our people that if something happens wherever in the world, then at the end, it will damage us. And the other lesson they learned, unfortunately, is that they remain unprotected in times when they are most vulnerable. And this was a very bad lesson. And one can say, okay, I'm so negative. Not, in contrary. I think that those changes, those challenges, the world changed, the people changed, but this gives us an opportunity as well. I would really call you to look on those changes not as threats, but really as an opportunity. It's a great chance, as Iratxe said at the very beginning. It's a great chance when we can really make a difference. Ahead of us, the task is huge, because the threats I was talking about, they are global. But the fears, the anxieties of the people, they are not simply local, they are individual. So the task what we are heading is that we have to address the local, the personal, the individual fears with global answers. And this is not a small task at all. And I don't want to use too big and too emotional words. I would say the challenges ahead of us are different, but not smaller than those who were faced by Jean Monnet or Robert Schuman or the other founding fathers. Because now we really have a window of opportunity. Either we use it now, either we manage to change Europe for a stronger one, for a more democratic one, for a more successful one, or if we fail, well, this option does not exist, I think, and we are strong enough. And let me emphasize one other issue as well, that when we talk about a stronger Europe, you might say this is only a communication problem, but really, believe me, this is a political task. When we speak about stronger Europe, more democratic Europe, more successful Europe, then we have to speak about institutions and institutional changes. But unfortunately, institutional changes, as Sergej mentioned, Paul mentioned, I'm sorry, Sergej is going to mention it afterwards. As Paul mentioned before, well, institutional changes are not really exciting for our people. Our people do not want to hear and talk about institutions. They would like to hear about solutions. But I would turn it around again. Let's take it as an opportunity. We have now 1-2 years to talk about the individual fears, the individual problems of our citizens, and let's do it. And focus on the fears and desires of the people. And if you check, let me tell you some examples. If you check what are the issues which are mostly concerning the European citizens, then no surprise, climate change, migration crisis, economy, social security, social well-being of the people. These are the most important issues. And if we look at them a little bit, just on a surface, migration, I must tell you that if we are not able to provide a real answer, a real proposal, that on the one hand answers and responds to the fear of our millions of European citizens, and on the other hand it's humanistic, then we simply do not deserve the honors to serve the European people, not in this Parliament, not in the Commission, and definitely not in the Council. But if you see what we can do, then you will see and you will agree that partly the migration crisis has to be addressed at the place of origin. What would it mean? It would mean that the European Union should have been able to stop the bloodshed in Syria. The European Union should have been able to end the civil war in Libya, or to prevent 400,000 deaths of men and women in South Sudan, or to prevent Putin's invasion, or go on, you name it, plenty of places. But when it comes to foreign policy, the European Union does not exist. With all my respect to the High Representative and his team, who are doing a really good job. But, excuse me, a lot of the cases, they are lame ducks. And if you can ask why, then let me say some examples. The European Union was recently unable to condemn Prime Minister Erdogan for his invasion in Syria. How can it happen? I can tell you. Because one country out of 28 vetoed it. And just 1 year ago, the European Union could not sign an agreement with the Arab League, which would be crucial for the migration issues. Why? Because of one single veto. And then, somewhat later in April, one country again protested against the growing influence of China in our region when we wanted to have a statement about it. One veto. And then, what is the result of this? Who was negotiating in Syria? USA and the Russians. I am not definitely sure that they were negotiating in the good faith of the European Union. Who protected the interests of the European citizens? If that's one of the main concerns, this security, who protected it? Nobody. And I have to tell you that hundreds of millions of simple European ordinary citizens can ask, are we insane? Are we insane that we are one of the largest community in the world, one of the strongest economy in the world, with 430 at that point, 440 million people, and we are simply not there. We are letting US and the Russians to negotiate a situation and take a decision, and the burden of this decision will sooner or later partly come back on our citizens. So, I'm not talking about the institutions, you hear me. I'm talking about the desire of the people. But what's the end? That we have to have a common European foreign policy. That's a must. And if we do not do it, we are not going to be able to address the fears of our citizens. And that's the only way how Europe can be more effective. So the answer, we need a more federal Europe in order to address the security issue and the migration problem of our country. So simple. But let's have a look at another one. I think this is maybe the easiest one, the climate change, because I have the feeling that even the hardline Brexiters or national populists will not say that the climate change can be stopped at the national borders between France and Germany or Slovakia and Hungary or Spain and Portugal. I think even they're saying that this is insane. But again, to be effective, then we need more power, more sufficiency. So if someone is saying that we are in delay of addressing the challenges of climate change, then with the same breath, one has to say that we are in a delay to build a more federal, more effective Europe. And climate change is one of the issues which can prove it beautifully. And then, and I'm not going to go through all policy areas, but economy. This is one of the main concerns of our citizens. And economy, it means a personal, social well-being and security when you translate it to the everyday life. Ursula von der Leyen said several times that she wants an economy that works for people, which means social justice. Then I'm asking you, how is it possible that the European Pillar of Social Rights is still a declaration, a proclamation, and not an integrated and solid part of our treaty? How can it be if our goal is an economy which works for people? And this is so obvious again when you look from an ordinary citizen point of view. Who is able to protect our currency, our jobs, our living standards, our economy? Small member states with a couple of million people, or a huge community with 440 million people with one single currency? And of course the answer is easy. But then let's go again one step forward. Can you have a single currency? Can it be managed without a common economic policy, without a minister of finance? Can it be successful? I'm not talking about institutions, but I think the answer to this question again, we need a more federal Europe. Or I promise the last one, because I have a lot of examples. There is not a single person in the Union again who would say that it's a just and fair system where the biggest multinational corporations do not pay their taxes. How can it happen that the biggest one, who earn the most on our European citizens, they do not participate in the sharing the costs, for example, of our social security or of our common policies? And the answer is simple, because big corporations are much stronger than member states, even the big ones. Even as I see the negotiations, the biggest one. The big corporations are stronger than them. So the answer again is so easy. If we cannot do it alone, then we have to do it together. Then we have to have a tax system which is feasible for 440 million people. And when we talk and negotiate together, then there is no corporation which is stronger than the European Union. So we have to have a more federal Europe. And I can really go on. Okay, I'm not going to speak now about the new parliament, which has a legitimacy not simply equal in the decision-making and legislation, but has a lead role in the legislation. And I'm not going to talk about the Senate, a new Senate, which task is to protect the rights and interests of a smaller member state, and I'll leave it to the debates which are coming. The only thing all in all what I would like to have you, that if we are responding to the real needs of the people, addressing individual fears, and we provide them with those global answers, then the answers are simply very, very clear. And we have the opportunity, and we have it now, and we are not going to have it maybe in 4 years. We have it now. So what I would suggest, let's discuss, let's talk, let's argue, but tomorrow be brave and create the United States of Europe. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much, Klara, for your powerful message and also for sticking to the time. I didn't say it, but you did. So please try to stay to 10 minutes in your intervention. And just maybe one comment on your reference to climate change. It is true that if you look at the current treaties, it's mentioned only once, because at the time of the Lisbon Treaty, this was not the topic that is it today in the preoccupations of the public agenda, of the public discussion. It was mentioned alongside environment only once, and of course no reference to objectives, carbon neutrality. That's nowhere to be seen in the Lisbon Treaty. So this is also important to bear in mind. And you reminded me something when you mentioned the failure to have a declaration with the first summit we had at the ministerial level with the Arab League about 2 years ago. And I was close to this discussion at the time when I was in Spain. And it was true, it was only one country, I think it was Hungary.
It was unfortunate.
And they vetoed the declaration because they did not want migration to be mentioned as a priority in the discussions between the European Union and the Arab League. But it was not because there was a specific position on migration they disagreed. It's just they opposed the word migration in the declaration. And that's why we failed to have a declaration, because of this single national veto, as you mentioned. Now is the time for our party president and also member of the European Parliament, Sergej, please.
Thank you very much, Dominic. I think it's a very timely initiative to have this workshop, because we are entering uncharted waters. We have to navigate in a very smart way through this period of time. By nature, I can say I'm an optimist, but there are many risks which we have to analyze and avoid. But when I say that I'm an optimist, I think I'm standing on firm grounds, because in the last European elections, we had 51% of Europeans who came out to vote for the European Parliament. It's for the first time, maybe in 20 years, that there was an increase. And this shows that people still believe in the European idea. But as it was said by Klara, it's a window of opportunity, and we shouldn't miss it. Because if this time we continue business as usual, we don't deliver on what we promised in our manifesto as a political family, then next time we may face a real crisis of representation of the socialist movement in the European institutions. There were very negative predictions about the last elections. Pollsters, analysts were saying that we shall come third, fourth in a row as a political force. We avoided it through a good strategy, strong candidate, and clear policies in our manifesto. But now we have to deliver. And the first thing is to learn from the lessons from the past. Because speaking of the Conference on the Future of Europe, we have to avoid that it is perceived as the Constitutional Convention in the first years of the 21st century, as something which is cooked in Brussels by the elite, which is focused on the institutions, and which is completely ununderstandable for the citizens. Because if we declare from the very beginning, we are for Federalist Europe, United States of Europe, immediately all the anti-Europeans will focus on it in a very negative way and present it like something of the elite. This is why we should be aware that this conference is started by the initiative of the Council as a dialogue with the civil society. So let it be a dialogue, first of all. Let it be open from the beginning. And let it focus on the real issues, and from the debates on the issues, the instruments, including institutional frameworks, procedures, should arise. Because, indeed, we are living in a new world. The changes are so rapid, so deep, that we cannot even intellectually understand them, not to mention to find the right answers institutionally in the current framework. Because, indeed, Europe internationally is very weak. This is one. And people care about it. if you go to Strasbourg, to the yard of the European Parliament, there are very interesting posters, which are based on a public opinion survey. 50 million Europeans voted in the European elections because they want a greater role of Europe in the world. 60 million voted for this and that. 40 million voted for something else. So people are expecting Europe to act and to deliver on certain specific issues. And we have to focus there. And on that basis to come to the next stage. Because otherwise we are also as a family risking one element. There are diverse visions in the family on a number of issues. If we try to structure from the very beginning our attitude, officially, then we'll have internal problems. And for us, first of all, the most important thing is coordination within the family amongst all factors. And we can influence substantially the process. We have the group, we have the Committee of Regions, we have the Foundation, we have the members of the national parliaments who will be part of this process. And this is why it is very important to have the check on the ground, to involve the national parliaments and our sister parties, our foundations on a national level, to have this debate out of Brussels, out of the bubble. Otherwise, nothing will work. And then indeed come to the real issues and name the problems. Which is the weakest element in the chain of the European structures? The Council, which is unable to take decisions on the most urgent issues like, let's say, migration or climate issues. And this is really essential to name and to look for ways how it can be more effective. Including this consensual way of deciding on too many issues is simply not working. But my point is that it should come from the real discussion based on the expectations of the people and then explaining why it's not happening. Because look, both the Commission and the European Parliament, with all the political divergences and confrontations and differences, have a proposal how to deal with the refugee crisis, migrations policy as a packages. And for 5 years now, the Council, zero. Empty declarations. The same about the new Green Deal. There will be the problem of the implementation. I'm sure that the Commission, because it's Frans Timmermans who is leading this process, will come with bold proposals, but then it will be blocked in many elements in the Council. And we have to communicate it to people and also show how these obstacles, bottlenecks, the narrow things can be overcome. And again, we really have to focus first on the policy aspect. What do we want to achieve for Europe? Where Europe is standing today? It's economically shrinking. In the world, it's not the global factor on major issues. It follows the others, doesn't lead. It doesn't cope with the technological change well enough. The Americans, the Chinese, others are leading in the digital transition, in AI. So we have to clearly identify the weaknesses, then to say, where do we want to see Europe? And on the third place to say, which are the ways to achieve these goals which can be formulated in this broad dialogue. I would stress one more time the importance of our internal unity and coordination. Because I think this was a key element that we came second and not third or fourth in the European elections. The unity of the family was preserved and we're working together in close coordination. And also, from the point of view of the Party of European Socialists, we shall be very active. As soon as March, next month, in Rome, will be the first big public discussion. All the parties, all the stakeholders from our family will be invited exactly to discuss our policy and our approach towards this process. This is why I'm saying that this workshop is very timely, because we need brainstorming, we need exchange in advance. We don't need, confrontation amongst ourselves, but to look where is the common ground and what we can do together. And generally speaking, this year, I would like to see our family to debate very broadly on all issues and very frankly, because I'm a strong supporter of the new Green Deal. indeed, it can be the new basis for policies which are transforming the mantra of the neoliberals, which is completely focused on the market. Because the new Green Deal, sustainable development, it's about changing about the way we think, the way we consume natural resources, the way we distribute, the way we preserve, and it's leftist in essence. But we have to avoid the risks, because there are many risks, because in reality it can be very painful exactly for our voters, for poorer people, not only in the regions which are mine producing or with thermal plants, but for many of our voters. And the only ones who can provide a just transition with enough financing, it's us. And again, I will finish with this. Our core identity is indeed red, as Paul said. And we have to show that we are ready to fight for it. We managed to have a strong impact on the Commission's work program, but we should prove that we can deliver on the social pillar, make it a reality, and when necessary, make a political fight, because we are sometimes far too consensual. This is why we are perceived as part of the status quo. We should show our red lines, and when necessary, make a fight, be identified as the right people for the right cause. Then we shall bring back confidence in our family. Thank you.
Well, Sergej, thank you very much for your input, and I have to say I'm really happy with having this discussion, because all of you are being very substantial and very clear in your position. So this is not. It happens sometimes that people just say very generic and nice things that everyone agrees, and then everyone is happy, but it's not a fruitful discussion. And I think what you say, for me, goes hand in hand with Clara's presentation, because I think if particularly, and something you said also, Sergej, the international environment. International environment is key, and you also mentioned at the beginning, the role of Russia, the role of the United States, the role of China and Europe. So to be stronger in the world scene, for me it's clear we need to have a stronger political unity inside Europe. For me it's very clear. Now, one thing is the goal. We can call it United States of Europe, is what the expression that Klara used. It's a traditional, it's not the first time we hear it. But what's the way to go about it? And I think you crafted a good, smart strategy. We cannot announce that the Conference on the Future of Europe is a constitutional convention, because it is not. It's going to draw the wrong kind of attention. And I think this conference should focus, as you proposed, in the main policy challenges: digitalization, ecological transition, climate change, foreign policy, social justice, an economy that works for all. And organically, this discussion about what else or what better we want to do together at the European level to tackle these challenges that by their nature are transnational and we cannot tackle only at the level of the member state, we will also have a reflection on institutions. But I think, if I understand you correctly, this will be an organic process in the context of the conference. What is important in that, I think we have to be clear, is that by the same token that it has to be an open dialogue with citizens, we cannot accept a council position that will exclude the institutional topic either from the mandate of the conference. So I think we should strive for an open mandate, a mandate that does not declare this is a conference to prepare a European constitution, but that doesn't say either you will talk about climate change, digitalization, environment, foreign policy, but you cannot talk about changing the institutions. So I think there is a reasonable, way of designing this mandate. But now I give the floor to Alicia, President of the Young European Socialists and a Spanish socialist too. Someone said, but there are many Spanish in this seminar. I said, yeah, but it's just, what can I do? The group president is Spanish, the president of the Young European Socialists is Spanish, I myself happen to be Spanish, but it's just a coincidence.
Gracias, Domènec. Y bueno, primero de todo me gustaría agradecer primero a todos los asistentes que han venido hoy a este magnífico debate. Seguidamente también dar las gracias a los organizadores de esta conferencia, a los miembros de nuestro grupo de la Comisión de AFCO y en especial a Domènec por invitarme en calidad de presidenta de las Juventudes Socialistas Europeas y darnos este espacio en este debate. Es un honor para mí compartir panel con estos líderes tan importantes para hablar de algo tan fundamental como es el futuro de Europa. Muchas gracias por invitar a las Juventudes Socialistas Europeas a participar, ya que los jóvenes europeos estamos dispuestos a dar batalla para conseguir una Europa más unida, más justa y, sobre todo, más democrática. No vamos a defraudaros, es nuestro futuro del que estamos hablando y queremos y creo que debemos participar en su construcción. No es nada nuevo decir que la Unión Europea se encuentra en su encrucijada más complicada y más decisiva de las últimas décadas. Después de una crisis económica que ha exacerbado las diferencias entre Estados, unas medidas de austeridad impuestas a electorados que simplemente no las deseaban y el doloroso proceso de retirada del Reino Unido, parece que nos estamos despertando después de una mala noche y que tengamos que decidir qué camino queremos tomar a partir de ahora. Está el camino de más integración, avanzando hacia una Europa federal y una Unión más democrática y más capaz. O está el abismo de la desintegración, que empieza con el estancamiento, sigue con las diferencias de trato según cada Estado y acaba con más Brexits y el fin de la solidaridad entre los pueblos de nuestro continente. Y los jóvenes no queremos esta última opción. Nosotros queremos seguir avanzando y seguir construyendo más y mejor Europa. Más del 80% de los jóvenes europeos creen que hay más motivos que nunca para unir los países de nuestro continente, más que motivos para la desunión. En países como Polonia, por ejemplo, donde nuestros compañeros están trabajando duro para vencer a los autoritarios actualmente en el poder, la juventud es uno de los colectivos sociales que se muestra claramente a favor de la integración europea. Incluso en el propio Reino Unido, el hecho de que el 68% de los jóvenes no desearan que el Brexit ocurriera es algo que nos anima a pensar que a medio plazo la perspectiva de que los británicos puedan volver a esta casa no parezca imposible. Los jóvenes somos la esperanza de la Unión y la Unión debe cuidar de esta esperanza. La Unión Europea tiene un deber con la democracia. Es la democracia la que nos distingue. Es un sistema sobre el que nos basamos, pero también son un conjunto de principios que nos une a todos los europeístas. Por eso es fundamental que reforcemos la democracia en tres frentes. En nuestros Estados miembros, frente a los nacionalpopulistas que quieren erosionarla, más allá de nuestras fronteras, con una política exterior basada en la promoción de los procesos democratizadores y también dentro de la misma Unión Europea. Existen motivos por los que preocuparse por la salud de la democracia a nivel europeo. Que la mitad de la población no participe en las elecciones europeas da alas al discurso del déficit democrático. Pero estoy convencida de que la democracia europea llegará a su plenitud y el incremento de la participación en las pasadas elecciones es una buena señal y un indicador de que las iniciativas tomadas, como es el sistema del Spitzenkandidat, van por buen camino. En la conferencia sobre el futuro de la Unión Europea, los jóvenes europeos vamos a pedir que se blinde este sistema de Spitzenkandidat y que todos los Estados miembros lo respeten. Es un mecanismo que da visibilidad a candidatos únicos por cada familia política, procedentes de distintos rincones del continente, y es un mecanismo que da visibilidad al proyecto europeo en la esfera pública. Y es con más visibilidad cómo los ciudadanos van a interesarse más por lo que pasa en Bruselas y a la hora de votar van a participar más. Nos va a tocar a los miembros de este Parlamento defender mecanismos como el del Spitzenkandidat y por eso tenemos que luchar también para que el peso del Parlamento incremente en el proceso legislativo comunitario. El derecho de iniciativa del Parlamento es un paso fundamental en una profundización de la democracia transnacional. O tenemos derecho a proponer legislación o a este Parlamento le falta un aspecto fundamental para poder ser la casa de la democracia europea. A veces creo que se repite demasiado el mantra de que los jóvenes somos el futuro. Yo creo que los jóvenes también somos el presente, y si no cuidamos a los jóvenes del presente, perderemos seguramente a los mayores del futuro. Hoy muchos jóvenes europeos viven situaciones precarias. Por ello, promover la justicia social tiene que ser una de las prioridades más importantes de la Unión. Sé que la redistribución subnacional es responsabilidad de los Estados, pero el artículo 3 del Tratado se acordó que la Unión combatirá la exclusión social y la discriminación y promoverá la justicia y la protección social. Si el 1% de la población europea concentra más beneficios de crecimiento económico que el resto, es porque la Unión Europea y sus Estados miembros estamos fracasando en crear un sistema económico justo y sostenible. Las injusticias se convierten en enfado y una población enfadada carga contra los poderosos. Así que o la Unión Europea es más funcional para combatir la desigualdad o los euroescépticos van a aprovechar su ineficiencia para volver a la opinión pública, para poner a la opinión pública en nuestra contra. Por esta razón, creo que el pilar social es fundamental para garantizar el futuro de la Unión. Debemos reforzarlo, fortaleciendo las políticas de juventud. Y para ello es necesario constitucionalizar el pilar social a través de una reforma de los tratados. Además, sería interesante destinar más presupuesto europeo a programas que benefician a nuestros jóvenes, como es el Cuerpo Europeo de Solidaridad. Más programas de intercambio europeo significa más ciudadanía europea. Demos más razones a nuestros jóvenes euroentusiastas para defender el proyecto a pie de calle. Demos más oportunidades a quienes están en riesgo de ser seducidos por el discurso del odio y de las fronteras. ¿La Unión Europea será capaz y autónoma o no será? Estas propuestas, entre muchas otras que ya se han comentado a través de los anteriores panelistas, serán las que vamos a defender los jóvenes europeos en la conferencia sobre el futuro de Europa. El documento que se presenta hoy aquí, que estamos también debatiendo, es un documento muy completo y es una muy buena base para que nuestro grupo encare la conferencia con ambición, que es muy importante tener ambición en estos temas. Desde las Juventudes Socialistas Europeas queremos participar y contribuir, como no podía ser de otra forma, y por ello pedimos que el proceso de participación sea lo más amplio posible y que se potencien las ágoras juveniles y que se aproveche para dar hoy un protagonismo especial a aquellos que serán los protagonistas del mañana. Así que muchas gracias, Domènec, por esta conferencia. Creo que es muy necesaria, creo que debemos seguir generando estos espacios de debate nosotros como familia política, porque hay aspectos, sobre todo sociales, que solo los podemos dar nosotros, esa visión. Así que muchas gracias y adelante.
Bueno, Alicia, muchísimas gracias por darnos la visión de la Juventud Socialista Europea. Tú, además, eres diputada, eurodiputada, miembro de esta casa y presidenta de Young European Socialists. Y creo que nos has presentado una agenda ambiciosa, clara. He anotado aquí la cuestión del derecho de iniciativa legislativa para el Parlamento y has utilizado una expresión que me ha gustado mucho, democracia transnacional, ¿no? Porque a veces, cuando antes hemos hablado con Paul Magnette, que ha mencionado la palabra federalismo, hay gente que sale corriendo de la sala, ¿no? Pero democracia transnacional también evoca el concepto de un Parlamento que tiene, bueno, plenos poderes, ¿no? Como cualquier parlamento. Puede presentar iniciativas legislativas, puede abrir comisiones de investigación. El llamado right of inquiry todavía no es fuerte, no tenemos un derecho de investigación como un Parlamento nacional y el Consejo lleva desde el año 2011 bloqueando este dossier. Y luego está también el frente de la mayor codecisión con el Consejo. Hay áreas en las que este Parlamento, como sabéis, está excluido del mecanismo de la codecisión. Claramente en todo lo que tiene que ver con fiscalidad, en fijación de recursos propios, en parte política social y política exterior y de seguridad. Entonces, yo creo que ahí has puesto el acento en la dirección correcta, el fortalecimiento de la democracia europea mediante el fortalecimiento de su Parlamento y la constitucionalización del pilar social. Y eso tiene que ver también con la parte material de la Constitución, no con la parte procedimental. Yo añadiría la constitucionalización también del Green Deal o de la transición ecológica. Como decía antes, no está prácticamente en la actual versión del Tratado de Lisboa. Pero seguro que del pilar social nos va a hablar mejor Liina Carr, que es la secretaria confederal de la European Trade Union Confederation. So, Liina, thanks a lot for being here with us. For us, it was very important to have the unions, the labor movement, our, main ally in the wider society, to be part of a discussion, which is in part constitutional. But I remember at the time of the Constitution and the Lisbon Treaty, your call for the social protocol. I hope this is still part of the agenda. And also on the wider discussion on the future of Europe and the key challenges that you also consider that we must address in the context of this debate, in which you are invited to be part as key actors, as social partners, at least in the position of the Parliament, as you know, and we hope Council will be supportive. But the floor is yours, Liina.
Thank you very much. Thank you for inviting us, and we are very happy to be part, because the European trade union movement has been part in the constitutional evolution and discussions for many, many years. We were part of the convention when the Lisbon Treaty was debated, and actually our former General Secretary Emilio Gabaglio's signature is on the document, because we were included in the process. But this is something we are proud of, very clearly. But when we look at where the social partners stand in Europe, then very clearly over time our role has been clarified and developed. When we look at the 1986 Single Market Act, for example, it was the first treaty that created legal basis for the community-wide social dialogue. Then the Lisbon Treaty further emphasized the importance, and we have Articles 151 to 59, if I'm not mistaken, that all deal with European level social dialogue and social policy issues. And it also puts an obligation on the European Commission to consult the social partners in social policy field. But this is not the only role. This is what we have in the Constitution, and obviously when we are talking about the future or looking into opening possibly the Constitution, obviously our business is to make sure that after the discussions, debates, revisions, that we are still there, that our role is still maintained, and we can continue. This is kind of what we have formally in the Constitution, but when we look at what social partners really do, we are actually an important part, not only at European but also national level, of ensuring a better quality of legislation. And also we have a very long-standing role in setting, applying and enforcing fundamental social rights. And this is precisely through social dialogue and collective bargaining. This is our center. But when we look sort of what have been our demands or asks throughout the processes or the history, also debating the Lisbon Treaty, then we are actually very much on the same page, because we were asking for qualified majority voting to become the usual procedure for definitely for social policy, but for us also for taxation. There are important aspects of economic governance that need to be changed so that we actually could have the social market economy that the Lisbon Treaty claims the Europe to be. We need social governance because at the moment it is, we see that many social fields get stuck in the Council precisely because of the unanimity requirement. We cannot make progress, we cannot move forward. And the most recent example is the access to social protection for all, where we started actually discussing with the Commission, we started discussions and negotiations for a directive, and we ended up with a recommendation. So, and one of the reasons, it's the recommendation on access to social protection. And one of the reasons that was given to us was precisely that the directive will never get through because it's unanimity. So it needs to definitely change. So inclusion of labor and employment councillors in key representations worldwide. This is a demand that has been through in our Congress, various Congress debates, but this is a consistent demand in our trade policy for trade union movement. Because how can we have fair trade relations with our partners if we only deal with the liberal, pure trade part and we don't look at the social issues? And if there are no experts who actually understand the social issues in Commission's representations worldwide. And of course, the Social Progress Protocol. This is still very much on the table and it hasn't disappeared anywhere. And also we had our Congress last year in May, and we renewed our call for social contract for Europe, or renewed social contract for Europe, because we feel that it's broken. It's not working any longer. So we need to renew it. And part of it is definitely the Social Progress Protocol that gives workers and trade union and social rights the primary role, primary status. Because we also see that a court decision, European Court of Justice decision after another, these rights are eroded. And I'm not even going to enter onto the free movement of workers or posting of workers, because we see that yet again, just before Christmas, we had a decision that undermines any fairness in working conditions, any fairness in pay for posted workers. Yet again, we are facing the same problems. I'm really glad to see that the document that the S&D Group has prepared for the conference on the future of Europe actually has many of the same demands that we have in our action program from the Congress. And just to mention a few, for example, a demand for the European Treasury. In macroeconomic policy, for example, the reform of the Stability and Growth Pact, or the changed mandate for the European Central Bank. We need a European Agency for Tax Coordination. When we look at economic governance, then a minister for economy and finance was mentioned. We go further, we also ask for a labor minister. And we want these two ministers to be in charge of defining inclusive policies, promoting growth and social justice, and setting a clear path towards ecologically friendly economic development in Europe. Human rights. There is still the issue of the EU's accession to the European Convention of Human Rights. And by extension, then the European Social Charter would apply to European Union, including the collective complaints procedure. When we look at the Green Deal, environmental change, this is all very important parts of our work that we do. And we fight to have that when we are talking about the environment and environmental transition, that we don't forget that when we enact policies to protect our environment, that there is a transition, and it tends to hit hardest the most vulnerable in our societies. So when we are talking about transition, we also need to talk about socially just transition. We have to make sure that when policies, tax policies are enacted, that there are also protective measures to support the people who would not be otherwise able to cope with the effects. And just to mention briefly the three different institutional positions that we have in front of us, because it is not obvious to everyone that trade unions should be included. In the Parliament positions, we are there. You have proposed a very concrete role, and I'm really thankful to Gabby, who has, I think, fought our corner in the group and in the European Parliament, so that we are there. But at the same time, when we look at the communication from the Commission, we are not there. There is just a mention of possibly national social partners. But European-level social partners are nowhere to be seen. I haven't seen the full document of the Coreper from the Council yesterday, but what I have seen, there are no social partners at all. So the question is, how does the Council or the Commission imagine this process to really function if they do not include important actors? I'm not only advocating the European level, but also the national level. It is impossible, but they don't foresee a role. And another big question mark for me, looking at the Coreper document, is they want to limit also your activity and contain it only in the strategic agenda that they adopted. And I thought, how ridiculous can they be? How can they say that we will have an open dialogue, we will have a civil dialogue, but we only talk about certain things?
But this is the result.
So I think you have an enormous fight ahead, and we will support you every step of the way to actually get a sensible mandate for the conference on the future of Europe.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, Liina, thank you very much for laying out the labor movement's agenda in just 10 minutes, and also for getting into the discussion on, because what we're having today is an early attempt. We wanted to be the first political family to start the discussion on our political position going into the conference. But it is true that the conference is, from the methodological point of view, is still a work in progress. It's not yet finalized. We have a position from Parliament. We have a position from Commission. It seems yesterday emerged a position from Council, which is not very uplifting, to be diplomatic. And you're pointing out to fundamental issues. Gabby will talk about that in the second panel, and she will give us the state of the art of the situation. But we are going to have a tough negotiation with the other institutions as Parliament in order to have an open mandate for the conference, and in order to have a guarantee that social partners are included and other organized civil society. And after this negotiation, which is not going to be easy, we will have a joint declaration that will officially launch the conference, ideally on the 9th of May, taking advantage also of, as Iratxe said before, the 70th anniversary of the Schuman Declaration. On the content, as you said, I see a lot of alignment with our proposal, but there are also other things that you mentioned. So I encourage you, because the document is a work in progress as well, so I encourage all of you that have read it to send further input to the document, and this idea of the labor minister, for example, and other things, so we will be in touch so we can enrich further our document. Thanks a lot, Liina. And now is the time of my friend here on my right, who has been sitting patiently and listening to the other colleagues, Barbara Duden. from the Committee of the Regions. Your president, and the Committee of the Regions is someone that we have also called, as well as the Economic and Social Committee, to be key players in the conference. You are the president of CIVEX. You may want to also explain for everyone to understand what is CIVEX, but also you are the vice president of our group in the Committee of the Region. So in these two capacities, I think your input is very needed. So please, Barbara, on to you.
Ja, vielen Dank. Ich würde gerne auf Deutsch sprechen. Und ich komme aus Hamburg und deshalb möchte ich natürlich nicht mit dem Zitat von Helmut Schmidt beginnen, dem ja oft der Satz zugeschrieben wird, wer Visionen hat, der sollte zum Arzt gehen. Die EU war ein visionäres Projekt und es muss es gerade auch heute bleiben oder wieder werden. Dabei muss die europäische Integration schon immer einen riesigen Balanceakt ausführen zwischen den ganz großen Ideen, denn was ist eigentlich größer gewesen als die Vision von dem Frieden nach 1945 oder die Diskussion um Nachhaltigkeit heute. Aber wir müssen auch immer beachten, dass wir auf der anderen Seite auch die Notwendigkeit konkreter Schritte und Entscheidungen vor uns haben, auch wenn die manchmal schwerer zu erreichen sind. Insofern bin ich sehr zufrieden, dass wir heute wieder von einer politischen Vision für das Europa der Zukunft sprechen und auch wieder von der Verfassungsfrage. Ja, die Frage stellt sich im Augenblick wieder einmal dringend, in welcher Verfassung ist die EU, um die Themen anzugehen, die den Bürgerinnen und Bürgern wichtig sind, und welche Instrumente, welche Verfahren und Ressourcen brauchen wir dazu? Aus meiner Sicht ist es 18 Jahre nach dem Konvent zur Zukunft Europas und mehr als 10 Jahre nach dem Inkrafttreten des Vertrages von Lissabon nicht nur legitim, sondern auch dringend geboten, zu fragen, ist die EU von heute eigentlich fit für die Aufgaben der Zukunft? Nicht zuletzt hatten wir seitdem eine ganze Reihe von Eintritten und wir hatten auch einen Austritt oder vielleicht einen halben Austritt von anderen grundsätzlichen globalen, technischen und sozialen und politischen Veränderungen ganz zu schweigen. In dieser Situation ist es natürlich notwendig, dass wir eine möglichst breite Debatte darüber anstoßen, wie es weitergehen soll. Wobei es für mich nicht so sehr darum geht, im Hinblick auf die ganz großen Visionen zu diskutieren, was die wichtigen Themen sind für Europa und seine Zukunft. Ich glaube, in dieser Hinsicht ist die Übereinstimmung auf der europäischen Ebene natürlich auch mit nationalen oder regionalen Nuancen doch sehr weitgehend. Die Frage der sozialen Gerechtigkeit, die der Nachhaltigkeit und der Kampf gegen den Klimawandel, die Veränderung unserer Arbeitswelt durch Digitalisierung und der Zusammensetzung unserer Gesellschaft durch Migration und Alterung und die Frage, was diese Herausforderungen mit unseren sozialen und politischen Systemen machen, wie wir mit den Spaltungen und den Bedrohungen von Demokratie und Grundwerten umgehen und welche Rolle Europa in der Welt spielt. Das sind die Fragen, die zurzeit überall diskutiert werden. Wenn wir uns aber auf dieser Ebene der großen Themen einig sind, dann kann und muss es in den jetzt kommenden Debatten über die konstitutionelle Zukunft darum gehen, welche Instrumente und welche Gestaltungsmöglichkeiten wir uns geben, um diese Herausforderungen anzugehen, als EU auf der einen Seite, aber natürlich auch als Sozialdemokratie in Europa. Das heißt aus meiner Sicht nicht, dass die allerwichtigsten Fragen für uns jetzt die nach diesen institutionellen Feinheiten des EU-Systems sein müssen, obwohl natürlich das Spitzenkandidatensystem und die Überwindung des Vetos einzelner Länder ganz wichtige Elemente des Lösungsansatzes sind. Es gilt vielmehr grundsätzlich darum, wie wir in der EU das Zusammenspiel der verschiedenen demokratischen Ebenen, und ich muss jetzt doch leider einmal die Vokabel Multi-Governance erwähnen, wie wir das zusammenbringen, um alle Ebenen zu stärken und in die Verantwortung zu nehmen. Eine Besonderheit und eine, die aus meiner Sicht noch nicht ausreichend genutzte Stärke der EU ist in der Tat ihre Vielschichtigkeit und die Tatsache, dass lokale, regionale, nationale und europäische Ebenen im Interesse der Effizienz und der demokratischen Legitimität zusammenarbeiten müssen, und zwar loyal zusammenarbeiten müssen, und zwar erstens bei der Analyse der realen Probleme, aber auch bei der Erarbeitung von politischen Lösungen, bei der Gesetzgebung, bei deren Umsetzung, bei der Finanzierung, bei der Überprüfung der Erklärung und der Verantwortung dessen, was die Politik tut, nämlich gegenüber den Bürgerinnen und Bürgern. Diese Idee der Multilevel Governance ist in der bestehenden EU mehr oder weniger explizit vorhanden. Zum Beispiel in der Kohäsionspolitik ist sie etwas sichtbarer. Es gibt aber Bereiche unserer Politik, in der sie ganz wenig sichtbar ist. Und es gibt auch Bereiche, wie zum Beispiel der Bereich der Migrationspolitik, in der sie allzu oft offiziell auch ignoriert wird. Aber wir wissen alle, dass dieses fundamentale Element Europa in der Kommunikation und damit auch in der Wahrnehmung der Bevölkerung kaum ankommt. Und wir wissen, dass es auch allzu oft und allzu gerne von den politischen Handelnden verdrängt, vergessen oder verschwiegen wird. An dieser Stelle müssen wir meiner Meinung nach ansetzen, denn die immer wieder beschworenen Schwierigkeiten darin, die EU näher an die Bürgerinnen und Bürger heranzubringen, die vielfach national oder auch politisch ausgenutzten Ängste oder Missverständnisse über das, was die EU kann, was sie nicht kann, was sie darf oder was sie nicht darf, könnten sehr viel erfolgreicher bekämpft werden, wenn wir Wege fänden, die notwendige Zusammenarbeit über alle Ebenen hinweg zu erleichtern und auch transparent zu machen. Es geht in diesem Sinne also gerade nicht, wie im Konvent vor 18 Jahren diskutiert, um eine Kompetenzabgrenzung, sondern es geht vielmehr um eine engere und auch sichtbarere Kompetenzverknüpfung oder Kompetenzverschränkung. Denn in der Erwartung der Wählerinnen und Wähler ist es eben gerade nicht wichtig, ob eher die nationale oder weniger die europäische Ebene etwas tun soll, ob es eine Finanzierung für soziale Projekte von der europäischen, der nationalen oder auch der regionalen Ebene kommt, sondern die Bürgerinnen und Bürger erwarten zu Recht konkrete Lösungen für die Probleme, die sie stellen und die sie haben. In diesem Sinne glaube ich auch, dass die Konferenz zur Zukunft der Union, unabhängig davon, wer sie aus welchen politischen Motivationen auch vorgeschlagen hat, eine gute Gelegenheit sein wird, diese Frage mit vielen Bürgerinnen und Bürgern, mit verschiedenen Interessengruppen und mit politischen Vertreterinnen und Vertretern aller Ebenen zu diskutieren, nicht nur in Brüssel, sondern überall in der EU. Und deshalb fordert der Ausschuss der Regionen natürlich eine angemessene Beteiligung an diesem Konferenzformat. Und das müssten aus unserer Sicht, wenn ich das als Bitte hier mal sagen darf, auch mehr sein als die bis jetzt vom Europäischen Parlament vorgesehenen 4 ADR-Mitglieder. Wir stehen sehr gerne zur Verfügung, um mit dem Europäischen Parlament und Kommission gemeinsam für eine möglichst breite und dezentralisierte Debatte zu sorgen. Aber wichtig ist für mich vor allem, und ich glaube, da spreche ich auch im Namen meiner sozialdemokratischen Fraktion im ADR, dass wir neue Verbindungen und Methoden finden, dass die verschiedenen Ebenen zusammenarbeiten, dass wir sie zusammenbringen, damit jeder seine eigenen spezifischen Erfahrungen, seine Kompetenzen und seine demokratischen Absicherungsmechanismen einbringen kann. Da müssen natürlich auch politische Parteien eine stärkere Rolle spielen, auch und gerade die auf europäischer Ebene. Dabei muss auch der Informationsfluss von den Dörfern, den Städten und Regionen über die regionale und nationale Ebene bis zur europäischen Ebene und zurück gestärkt werden, damit wir die Erfahrungen besser nutzen können und die EU-Politiken besser auf verschiedene Gegebenheiten zuschneiden können. Das schließt auch die vom ADR vorgeschlagene Idee mit ein, nicht nur während der Konferenz, sondern auch danach als strukturelles Element des europäischen Politikprozesses Formen von permanenter, strukturierter Partizipation einzuführen. Dazu gibt es in vielen Kommunen und Regionen in Europa bereits Erfahrungen, auf die man aufbauen kann. Aber dazu gehört natürlich auch, dass die gewählten Vertreterinnen und Vertreter der verschiedenen Ebenen zuerst einmal sich gegenseitig ernst nehmen und in der gemeinsamen Verantwortung für die konstitutionelle Zukunft der EU respektieren. Wenn es mithilfe der Konferenz gelingt, diese Debatte erneut mit Leben zu füllen und die Mobilisierung vieler Menschen zu diesen Themen in dieser Zeit abzubilden, dann, denke ich, hätte die Konferenz schon viel erreicht. Und zum Schluss: Es versteht sich von selbst, dass es aus unserer Sicht klar sein muss, dass diese Gespräche und die Debatten, die wir haben werden, zu konkreten Vorschlägen führen müssen, die auf EU-Ebene, aber auch auf anderen Ebenen in politisches Handeln umgesetzt werden. Dabei darf es keine Tabus geben. Das heißt, auch Änderungen an den EU-Verträgen müssen mitgedacht werden, inklusive der Frage, wie solche Veränderungen möglich sind, wenn die Einstimmigkeit der Mitgliedstaaten nicht erreicht werden kann. Und vielen Dank dafür, dass wir das hier heute vortragen durften.
Well, thank you. Vielen Dank, Barbara. It's not much that I can say in German, but thank you for again, in just a minute, giving us a very good overview. And I like you mentioned the question of multi-level governance. No? I think that's also key, because Alicia mentioned transnational democracy, but in our case, it's a multi-level transnational democracy, no? Multi-level, and the role of the local level and the regional level. And I thank you also for your clarity on your last remark. I think no taboos. I mean, it's not the age of taboos anymore. Maybe when you think about Brexit, you see some people in Britain that are convinced that they were told they were not joining in a community of values, that they were only joining in a free trade area or a common market. No. I mean, if anyone still has any doubt about the EU being a political project, it's the time to disabuse him or her of that reality. Now, our last speaker in the panel is Johannes Koskinen. He's a Social Democrat member of Parliament in Finland. So I hope you can also give us the perspective of national parliaments and whatever else you may want to add to the discussion. So Johannes, thank you for coming, and the floor is yours.
Thank you very much for inviting also a representative of 27 national parliaments, but I try to keep it short. First, I want to join to those remarks Sergej said about the big picture, that how we approach to these problems. It's better to start with a political agenda and then find if there are needs to change institutions or treaties. I also support those ideas Alicia, Liina and Barbara gave from their points of view on the social partners representation and local and regional representation and the civil society participation in the process. But of course you are not surprised if I say that national parliaments must be included in the process of planning the future of Europe. And it's maybe easier to follow the same methods that were in the earlier conventions, that there's a parity between the representation of European Parliament and the national parliaments, and not to create very new structures if you have had a well-functioning form of this kind of work, and also that the social partners representation there could be safeguarded. European Commission contribution in shaping the conference on the future of Europe a couple of weeks ago has its merits, especially in connecting the conference with the EU's headline ambitions as set out in the Commission's 6 political priorities. All these priorities demand political actions and legislative measures both at European and at national level, many of them also at local and regional level. And also most of the institutional reforms which might be needed require approval by the national parliaments. So then it's quite natural that the representatives of national parliaments should have equal influence as European institutions, according to the same principles that were followed in earlier conventions. My second point is about this approach to these sectoral competencies. We need to analyze how we can reach these political goals that we as Social Democrats have, and we as a European family have. The updated policy framework with the new social, economic and ecological goals is well described in this AFCO S&D working document from November, and it has been elaborated later. But we need to analyze carefully if there are lacking competencies at union level and what kind of arrangements bring real added value and stronger results, help to achieve prioritized goals. And there is this contradiction that this general Europeanistic or federalist view of transferring widely executive authority towards the Commission and legislative powers towards the European Parliament will not easily be accepted in the national parliaments or in the national politics as a whole. It's not only on social democratic parties, but in the political discussion as a whole. But then these sectoral solutions might be more realistic to achieve if they enhance policy efficiency. And especially when we have these global challenges, climate change, environmental issues, global taxation needs to have international and global arrangements, there we can clearly show that we need European level decision making, and it need to make it easier. So going from the problems and our policy agenda towards these needed institutional or treaty changes is a better way to go further than speaking generally about more federal Europe or that kind of things. It's maybe better to speak about better functioning Europe or more energetic Europe, more efficient Europe, and then to combine the same political efforts we made at the national level with these European level efforts. So this is my message to have this kind of a functional way of getting things done and not try to have too difficult issues on the agenda. The third point is that these institutional proposals are very controversial, and they are that for good reasons. Personally, I think that the Spitzenkandidaten process or introduction of transnational lists tend more to alienate citizens from European politics than add democracy or create stronger European political platform. I was in the press presidency during Paul Nyrup Rasmussen's time and also Sergej's time when we then introduced this Spitzenkandidat, and this discussion was then already, it was first accepted as a trial. We will see what happens, but the method has not been very fruitful, I think. And if we think about the history, the best Commission president ever, Jacques Delors, would never have been a Spitzenkandidat and wouldn't be accepted as a president with this method. So we could also argue that it's better to concentrate on struggling between ideas, political ideologies at the European levels and in the European elections than to try to find great European figures to try to market them in 27 countries. Then these other ways to how to strengthen democracy, that to have better say for European Parliament in issues of having more transparency and accountability of the institutions, especially between Commission, the Council, and European Parliament. That is the way to go further, and it might also be a part of this process when we find out that there are difficulties to have better use of European budget, and then you should have more this kind of monitoring powers for the European Parliament, and that might be also part of this process after we have found these problems and try to find solutions. So these improvements might be a more natural way towards better functioning European democracy than starting from the kind of a federalistic structural views of what we have in different think tanks. But as well, I think that with these compromises we have to make for the work of the future conference, so we'll find a good way, and as Sergej told, this political debate inside our political family is very important, that we have all the levels, European, national and regional, local level involved, and this Commission's view that we need a kind of a communications project is not enough. It's of course, we need that, but we have to have a clear structure also for this decision-making, planning of what we'll do for the next years. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Johannes. I think it's good that we keep in mind the difficulties and the views coming also from national politics. Maybe I very much in agreement when you talk about emphasizing transparency and accountability as ways to improving the European democracy, and this is something we support, and we will have support in the public opinion for that. But also because of accountability, I think it's important to increase the powers of the European Parliament. But that doesn't mean that we are eroding the powers of the national parliaments. The fact that we have the right of legislative initiative does not erode in their own field of competency the role of the national parliament, or the fact that we have the right of inquiry does not erode the right of inquiry of national parliaments. No? So I think we have a way also, you know, I see that you have a fear for this generic call of federal Europe, but maybe we have to also discuss what we mean by that, because, of course, if people think that this is a massive transfer of competencies to the European Union, of course they are going to be against, and I'm going to be against myself. I don't want the European Union to run the schools or the hospitals or the social services from Brussels. But I don't want unanimity in the Council, and that's clearly a federal principle. And I don't think most pro-Europeans will be opposed to having qualified majority voting. You were mentioning the problem with the Social Protection Directive, that it had to be abandoned because it required unanimity in Council, or the fact that we have more co-decision also in the field of social policy than we have now. Those are federal principles. These are the real federal principles, like no unanimity in Council and full co-decision with Parliament. If this still creates confusion, we will have to be pedagogic, no? But it's not about centralizing and running all possible policies from Brussels. We have the next panel, but I think it will be a bit unfair not to allow, and I know my staff is going to be very upset with me, but since I'm here, to allow at least MEPs present to take the floor if they want to react to the panelists or make a point. So is it Javier, Vladimir, Mia Petra, and Rafael? But we are 15 minutes late, so if you could make your point in 1 minute, otherwise we will run out of translators, interpreters, I mean, for the second panel. So, Javier.
Sí, gracias, querido Domènech. Gracias, presidente. Muy brevemente, primero, disculpas por no haber estado antes y me voy a tener que ir, pero el problema es que tenemos, en esta casa ocurre varias reuniones al mismo tiempo. No, solo para decir el apoyo total y firme de la delegación española a este proceso. Yo creo que esta conferencia es necesaria y que tiene que llevar la impronta de nuestra familia política, y en ello pues, la delegación socialista española participará. Yo creo que lo importante es definir el objetivo, qué queremos de esta conferencia, y luego hablar de estructuras. El Parlamento ha propuesto una estructura, no creo que sea la definitiva, porque no creo que el Consejo acepte esa estructura, pero en fin, eso lo veremos. Pero el objetivo, ¿y el objetivo cuál es? Por una parte, pues sí, se pueden hacer cambios. Yo creo que no hay que asustar al Consejo y no hablar ya de cambios en los tratados, pero, por ejemplo, y lo habéis mencionado, el respeto al proceso del Spitzenkandidat y las listas transnacionales, el derecho de iniciativa legislativa del Parlamento Europeo o eliminar el voto en el Consejo con el paso a la mayoría cualificada son pasos que se pueden dar. Pero ahora bien, eso es una parte. Luego, si yo voy a mi madre y le hablo de esto, me va a decir que en su vida cotidiana no le aporta mucho. Por eso yo creo que es muy importante que realmente, si el objetivo es acercarse a los ciudadanos y que los ciudadanos digan, ah, pues sí, Después de esta conferencia, Europa me aporta esto a mi vida cotidiana, ahí lo habremos logrado. Por eso yo creo que los foros ciudadanos son muy importantes, que hay que multiplicarlo y que hay que escuchar a la gente. Hay que escuchar a la gente, a los ciudadanos, y luego, pues, si tenemos 3 o 4 ideas muy concretas y las llevamos a cabo, será un éxito. De todos modos, es un éxito. Yo, cuando estoy en el hemiciclo en Estrasburgo, enfrente tengo toda la extrema derecha. Toda la extrema derecha. Y si hablamos de conferencia sobre el futuro de Europa, lo criticarán, hablarán que sí, que no nos gusta, pero marcaremos nosotros la agenda. No estaremos hablando de su agenda, de otras cosas, dejaremos ya de hablar del Brexit, dejaremos de hablar de migraciones, como hablan ellos, y yo creo que solo eso ya es un éxito. O sea que ahora a ponernos a trabajar para que esa conferencia el 9 de mayo pueda empezar. Lo siento, he sido un poco largo y además no soy muy educado, pero me tengo que ir porque tengo varias. Pero quería dejar, digamos, estas reflexiones por parte de la delegación socialista española aquí. Gracias.
Muchas gracias de verdad, Javier, por tu presencia y por tus comentarios también muy concretos. Vladimir.
Thank you very much. 2 brief comments. First, nobody can deny the Parliament's right to talk with the people, with the Europeans, and to listen to them. And in particular, it can take the form of a conference. That is why I'm afraid that maybe a kind of mistake has been already made when we accepted the concept of calling for the conference by all of the European institutions. It should be the initiative of the Parliament, open to partner-like cooperation with other European institutions. But it is our target, our right, to set the goals for the conference. Second comment. I can support everything that Klara Dobrev said about the circumstances, about the problems, challenges, threats, risks, etc., etc. But I personally believe that to deal with all of those issues with some positive effects, results, we need to have public opinion, European public opinion on our side. I mean, those of us who believe in stronger Europe, stronger European integration. I personally prefer not to talk about federal or more federal Europe, just to avoid senseless ideological discussions. It's easier to convince the people that we need strong or stronger Europe, I believe. And to have the public opinion on our side, we need to have European public opinion. To have European public opinion, we have to create such situation in which people all around Europe can discuss the same issue, can answer the same questions, etc. In my speech during the plenary discussion, I mentioned something that I was talking already among some of us earlier. I personally believe that we should start the practice of consultative European referenda, and that conference is a perfect opportunity to start that kind of mechanism which could last also after the end of the conference for the future of Europe. Otherwise, all of our declarations about making the European Union more democratic, more accepted by the people, will be just verbal, empty declarations. Thank you.
Thank you, Vladimir. I think now it's Mia Petra, no?
Thank you. Thank you for the very inspiring panel to get started with. And I also think that we had a very good appetite for the conference as we worked in the AFCO and then the European Parliament, and then it flattered down when we read what the Commission was really about, even it was the initiative by the von der Leyen, and then also the Council, we don't know what they actually want. And it was also actually not at all a constructive one, that it was more that the regions and local events, and then MEPs were not kind of mentioned. I also think that we were having the talks with the citizens last summer. I did 50 cities in Finland, and what was it if it was not the dialogue with the electorates, and it will continue. So it is also that this parliament has it, and its roots and DNA, and for me the conference was then something more, and it was the open doors, institutions together. And that goal, having the institutions together with open doors, doesn't exist today. We do not have a forum that Commission, Council, and the European Parliament never meets. We have one single commissioner every now and then talking in the future programs that there will be white paper on AI. I have been listening Breton 4 times in 2 weeks' time. So yes, there is a dialogue. There is even structural dialogue in the committees that they come and then we wait what they will propose. And of course, with the socialist commissioners now there is a better, and then the chair, and then the ministers they meet. But as institutions, we look maybe like a fighting ones. And if we then go for the future, and there will be decisions on the future, even there is not treaty change, which I politically think is maybe a dream and not a fact. So I don't want to also pave the way that only the treaty change will make Europe better, because then we are having the risk that Europe will not be better. Maybe my question to you is also that how do you see the political reality today and at this moment to go out and have these goals with the countries going very strange? The country Klara knows best is a bit strange to look leader meeting with the Italian fascist forces and still being in the EPP, but then still as a country leader. So this political reality at the moment is the question. And then my second comment on this institutional thing. I have been very happy to see Pier Virgilio here as we worked together in the 90s. And then I still like this idea that it is the institutions that create our possibility to do the politics. But as a political movement, if we don't have clear ideas what we want, but we say more democratic Europe, so it doesn't touch the people. And my colleagues from the AFCO, they know that if I go campaigning in Finland that, yes, now you should ask for more democratic Europe and less commissioners. So you will not have a Finnish commissioner. Please vote for me. I will campaign for that. Maybe reality is different in Italy or Spain, or that you get more people to vote socialist when they require not having own commissioner. I don't know. But this kind of tools. And then I see the same people willing to, have this flexibility not to have the commissioner. At home, they have more than 10, 20 or even 30 ministers. Why? Why the reality is so different here? Then I do see the commissioners busy. I do see the MEPs busy. So if we want to respect the political system, we have to respect the politicians and then the democratic rules on all the level. So comments, but the question is political reality today. Is it then that the populists will use this fora, and how to tackle that one?
Thank you, Mia Petra. Raphaël?
Merci Domenech. Je pense que c'était extrêmement important d'avoir cette discussion maintenant, et je voudrais remercier les panélistes pour la qualité de leur intervention. Moi, je suis inquiet aujourd'hui. Si cette conférence ne débouche pas sur des choses un peu plus importantes que des arrangements à la marge, on aura à nouveau suscité une forme d'attente et à nouveau déçu les citoyennes et les citoyens européens. Et donc, la question qu'on doit se poser, c'est comment est-ce qu'on fait pour remplir l'agenda qui est chez nous plus ambitieux que dans d'autres groupes politiques ou dans d'autres institutions européennes. Et la seule manière qu'il y a, c'est d'impliquer la société civile beaucoup plus que ne le veut la Commission ou que ne l'imagine le Conseil, et c'est d'avoir un processus large d'implication des citoyens. Et le moins qu'on puisse dire, c'est qu'aujourd'hui, on n'en prend pas le chemin. C'est-à-dire qu'on a des propositions de la Commission et du Conseil qui sont extrêmement faibles au niveau de l'implication des citoyens européens. Et donc, il y a, à mon avis, un rapport de force là. Parce que si... Je suis d'accord, peut-être qu'on ne lance pas le débat sur fédéralisme ou non-fédéralisme tout de suite, mais si on n'arrive pas à la fin de cette conférence avec des propositions qui permettent justement plus d'institutions fédérales et de démocratie fédérale dans les institutions européennes, eh bien, on n'aura servi à rien, et pire que rien. Parce qu'en fait, à force de faire des opérations de communication sans réellement changer les institutions européennes, eh bien, on va encore plus dégoûter les citoyens européens de notre discours politique européen.
Merci beaucoup, Raphaël. And now we move to the next panel, but thank you very much to all of you. Thank you for the very substantial contributions. We will continue the discussions in the future, and we hope you can come with us. And, yep. Yeah, of course. No problem. No problem. Thanks a lot. So please now I invite Joao Rodrigues, FEPS President and former member of the House, Valerio Onida, former President of the Constitutional Court of Italy, Olivier Costa from the College of Europe in Bruges, Pier Virgilio Dastoli, President of the European Movement in Italy, Francisco Aldecoa, Professor of International Relations of the University of Complutense University in Madrid and President of the European Movement Spain, and Gabi Bischoff, S&D, MEP, and Vice Chair of the AFCO Committee.
Very good initiative.
I think it's going well. Very. Hi, Gabi.
Hi.
How are you?
Good to see you.
Welcome. So who are we missing? Valerio, no? Oh. And thank you for the participants to stay in for the second panel, which is never a given. Huh? So now we have had a panel which we have called the political and institutional actors. Not that the present panelists are not political actors, because you are also political actors, but you are also now working with, in the academia, in the think tanks, in the wider civil society. So I'm pleased to give the floor for the first speaker for 10 minutes, the person on my right, Joao Rodrigues, who is a former colleague in the European Parliament, but above all a very committed socialist pro-European, a friend. Now you are the president of the Foundation for European Progressive Studies, which is the think tank of the European Socialists. And you are very committed to play a part in this debate on the future of Europe and on political union. You are committed personally and also institutionally from the FEPS side. So very thankful for joining us today. I welcome you to the European Parliament, which is an institution you know very well. And the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Dominic, and my congratulations for this beautiful and useful initiative. I will try to be as useful as possible for the debate by building on my experience as politician, making the tour of the different European institutions and being part of the final negotiation of the Lisbon Treaty. But also, of course, as now I have the hat of president of the European Foundation for Progressive Studies, I can speak extremely freely, and I will do. So let me tell you how I think about this. And I was paying careful attention to what happened here in the previous panels. The first thing I would like to say is that this exercise of the Conference on the Future of Europe will take place in a very special context. Very different from the one we had when we ran the European Convention and then we negotiated the Lisbon Treaty. All this happened before the big financial crisis. I remember I was in Lisbon, European Council, when we concluded the deal on the Lisbon Treaty, and we were so happy with the big progress. But 1 year after, 2008, we're dealing with the backlash of a big financial crisis. And this has changed the world, because the backlash brought a kind of nationalistic reaction to the fact that the neoliberal agenda was pushed to the extreme. And we are still in this new context. And we should be prepared for a particular context where Brexit being negotiated, so a good expression of this nationalistic trend. Let's see what comes in the American elections, and what will be the consequences of the American elections to the future of the multilateral system, which, by the way, will be discussed in New York in the General Assembly this year. And how we Europeans, we imagine our future in this new context. So the Conference on the Future of Europe will take place against this background. Now, I think we need to be prepared, let's say, basically for 4 main scenarios for the European future. One is to muddle through the status quo, the inertia, not being able to cope with the new challenges. This is bad. But we can have even worse. We can have a scenario of national fragmentation. Then we can have a third scenario, which can give the idea that we have a pro-European push, but the pro-European push with a liberal approach, focusing on making trade deals, strengthening probably European defense, going deeper in the European single market, and not much more than this. This agenda will be on the table also. Well, my deep belief is that we, progressives, social democrats, we should push for a fourth scenario. And this fourth scenario should be based, most of all, on deepening European citizenship in all dimensions. When it comes social rights, when it comes now environmental rights, so important, but also when it comes political rights. I think this should be our compass. Why? Because if we want to really overcome the inertia, the muddling through we have been over the last years, we need to mobilize a big political force. And this big political force can only come from citizens. So the starting point of this conference, from my viewpoint, should be about citizenship. What is our concept of European citizenship? And now let me be precise. I think that some steps can be taken. First of all, yes, over the last years we could launch a European pillar of social rights. This should be given stronger political and, in fact, constitutional force. Secondly, we need to add new rights. Example, environmental rights. This will become central for the next period. More than this, we need to make sure that these rights are portable in European space. Portability of rights is extremely important. This also means that we, European citizens, we should be able to accumulate our rights and to make them portable in other countries. This is a big transformation and a big effort of coordination of our social systems. And I will mention a step further, which I believe is necessary, is to create at European level a kind of safety net for basic social rights. When it comes access to education for all, when it comes protection in unemployment, when it comes underpinning basic rights against poverty or basic retirement rights. So I'm trying to be as precise as possible. For me, these are possible developments when it comes a concept of real European citizenship. And this is a powerful way to mobilize citizens to support the European project and to move forward. Then I agree, which was said in other panels, that from this, we need to draw the implications for policies. I don't intend here to discuss, because also I don't have time, models of the architecture of European integration and the so-called F word, so the federalism. But there is something very clear in all the available literature, is that whatever the evolution of the political system, we will also always be a sui generis political system. There is not another example to copy in the world. Example, to be more concrete, it's completely impossible to transfer to Europe the kind of American federalism. Because most of our competences are so-called shared competences between the different levels, European level, national level. This is completely different from the American federalism, where we have a clear distinction between competence of the federal level and competence of the national level. So this is not possible to transfer to the European case. Let's be clear. So we are inventing something new. But now let me precise, because I really think that most of our competences will remain shared competences, but I believe that some policies need to count more on the European level of competence. And which are these policies where we need to strengthen the role of European Union? I see three main fronts: strategic autonomy, internal cohesion, financial means. Strategic autonomy, first of all, when it comes foreign affairs policy, this was already underlined, or when it comes defense, well, in connection with NATO, for sure, but we do need a proper defense capability. Then, in strategic autonomy, the international role of the euro will become crucial. We are seeing this in the Iran crisis, example. And then we need to have a proper European industrial policy and a stronger research policy, if you really want to have strategic autonomy. In this power race we have between the United States and China, this will be totally crucial. When it comes to the second front, which is internal cohesion, well, this is about implementing these new social rights, as I was studying, but also to close the divergences between regions, because they are widening. So we need to have the means to close these differences. And this brings us to the issue of the financial means. Because this involves the role of the European budget, but there is a big difference. If the cohesion policy financed by the European budget is based on some limited decisions of solidarity to a region or another region, or if it is based on ensuring European citizens' rights, wherever citizens are. This is a completely different concept of cohesion policy. So we need a cohesion policy to make sure that citizens, wherever they are in the European Union, they can count on some basic rights. So this is a new paradigm for regional policy. Then this budget should also be, once and for all, aligned with the political electoral cycle. This is not yet the case, but we can make it for the next phase. Extremely important to deepen the democratic ownership of decisions on budget. This should be complemented with a new version of the Stability pact, because in fact the Stability Pact as it is constitutionalized now enshrines austerity in the treaties. So this is a fundamental problem. Finally, taxation. Yes, we need to address European taxation. First of all, because we need new own resources for a more powerful community budget. But also, we need more coordination of taxation as a whole, a convergence on taxation effort, because this is the condition to provide equality of rights. This is an issue of fundamental to a new architecture of the European Union. We cannot call for equal rights if we don't underpin equal rights with equitable effort of taxation. I'm pointing the finger to an extremely difficult issue. I'm completely aware this is extremely controversial, but that's my luxury of being president of a think tank, so I can say whatever, okay? Then, implications of these shift in policies when it comes the institutional framework. And as you saw, so far I have not spoken about treaty change. I'm keeping some ambiguity about this for obvious reasons. But yes, we do need changes in institutional framework. I would argue in favor of a major rebalancing of our European political system in favor of the Parliament and of an elected President of the European Commission by the Parliament and taking into account the outcomes of the elections. So this is what in French language is called basculement. Yes, we do have different national political systems, more presidential or more parliamentarians, but most of our national systems are more parliamentarians. And somehow we should reflect this at European level. So I think that somehow the role of the European Council as collective president should be reduced in favor of a European Parliament with full powers and electing a president of the European Commission with the right to choose his or her team. So it's to align the European political system towards our parliamentarian tradition, which is predominant in most of our countries. And these will have major implications. Because so far the European Council portrays itself as the president, a collective president, at least setting the agenda and also taking some crucial decisions. I believe that it would be better to have another balance.
The French model.
Exactly, inspired on the current Gaullist French model. Our French colleagues, they understand me very well. This will be a major rebalancing. This means, once and for all, that the President of the European Commission should be elected on an organized Spitzenkandidaten model. This also involves a more clarified role of the European political parties, because they are still proto-parties. We do need real European political parties in conditions to organize transnational lists. So this also implies a change in the political party system. Even I must tell you that we have a political party system much more organized today than we had when we concluded the Lisbon Treaty. It's interesting to underline this. Finally, when it comes to the Parliament itself, yes, I use the words a real European Parliament, mentioning the following developments. extending co-decision in the policy fields where we still don't have co-decision, power of initiative, and full budgetary power, including over taxation. Last but not least, go beyond representative democracy. To have an organized framework for citizens' participation, consultation, and even playing a role in decision. From this viewpoint, the institutions we have are somehow old-fashioned. We have now new tools, including in the digital area, which allows us to go much further. And again, I think the European Parliament should take the initiative to invent these new forms. Of course, I know that your very good document points in this direction. Final point I must refer to, sometimes there is a taboo, but this is my duty as president of a think tank. The classical discussion we have about the geographic organization of the European Union will come back. First of all, because of the effect of the Brexit. Then because we have a painful discussion on how to deal with Western Balkans, so possible enlargement or not. And also because we keep the Turkish issue in our hands. And so the discussion on different circles will come back. We need to be prepared for this. From my viewpoint, in progressive terms, we should say we are against European architecture in different levels. We can accept different speeds, but not different levels. Different speeds in the sense that, for particular reasons, some member states might will to go deeper earlier. When it comes deepening the Eurozone, when it comes building up European defense capability, when it comes now addressing new challenges such as cyber security or energy security. This might happen. And we should not block this. But it's very important that to say if there is a movement to deepen European integration, this should be always be open to all of the member states willing to join. It's a very important principle to restate. My final word is the following. The Lisbon Treaty is an incomplete work. Let me just recall this. Because when we were in the convention, we were discussing the institutional architecture and the policies. But then we had no time to update the policies. Because the European Council told us, finish. We no longer wait. And that's why the Lisbon Treaty changed the treaty. It is quite substantially when it comes to institutional architecture, but changed very little when it comes to policies. So this is updated. Outdated in the social area, in the Eurozone. Now will be even more outdated regarding the digital, the energy, the migration. So this is the situation we have. But I do agree that, first of all, we need to start from the concerns and the problems as they are felt by our citizens. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you, Maria Joao, for laying out this very complete agenda for a stronger European democracy. No? And I think the focus on rights is also very important and original in a way, because when we discuss institutions, we discuss the powers of the parliament, the rebalancing relationship with council, but in the end it's about empowering the citizen politically and socially, as you said. So I think we should try to add that to our document and our discussion going forward. Fully in agreement with you, European federalism is not going to be US federalism, so it has to be our own creation and with our own, based on our tradition of parliamentary democracy. In the end, what we want to do is a transnational parliamentary democracy. We already have it, of course, but we can improve it with the things that you proposed, and also is the. I think your last comment on the Lisbon Treaty is very pertinent, because we have to do our work, our proposal for the constitutional future of Europe in three aspects that are interconnected but also different. Which policies that are not currently in the treaty we want or are, but not to the extent that we need, with which procedures, how do we take the decisions on these policies, co-decision, more co-decision, without unanimity, and with which resources, right? The question of financial means. These three things, no? Which competences, with which type of decision-making, and with which resources, no? So thanks again, and you're staying for the debate afterwards. So now, I switch to Italian per dare il benvenuto a Valerio Onida, già presidente della Corte Costituzionale italiana. Siamo molto lieti di avere una personalità come te, una persona che conosce bene le materie costituzionali. No, ma io in realtà parlo l'italiano meglio che l'inglese, quindi preferisco per fare la tua presentazione di parlare in italiano. E grazie per essere con noi e a te la parola per, se puoi, 10 minuti.
Thank you for your invitation. I apologize because I'll speak Italian, not to claim for the usage of my own language, but only because I can better express my thought. And I couldn't get my intervention translated into English in advance. L'Europa unita è nata storicamente, come si sa, non da un disegno astratto o da una confluenza di interessi, e neanche da un calcolo economico legato alla complementarietà degli interessi di un gruppo di paesi. È nata da una precisa e alta visione politica, una visione che traeva dalla storia di molti secoli la lezione di una convivenza fra popolazioni diverse per lingua, cultura, religione, che certo conoscevano intense esperienze di cooperazione e di scambio. Basti pensare agli artisti che hanno circolato per l'Europa in tanti secoli, ma che dal punto di vista politico per lo più si confrontavano e si scontravano come potenze contrapposte l'una all'altra, regni, imperi, principati, nazioni, città. Così che la vera novità che ha segnato dopo la Seconda Guerra Mondiale l'avvio del processo di integrazione è stata quella ben espressa nella sua celebre dichiarazione del 9 maggio 1950 da Robert Schuman, per cui la giustificazione essenziale per creare la prima comunità europea, il carbone dell'acciaio, non era quella di costruire un mercato comune, ma quella di dare vita a uno strumento che rendesse una nuova guerra in questa regione del mondo non solo impensabile, ma materialmente impossibile, a tal fine ponendo carbone e acciaio, gli strumenti per eccellenza della guerra allora, sotto un'autorità che non fosse né francese né tedesca, ma comune. Dunque l'ideale europeo, alla radice, è l'ideale di un nuovo modo di essere della convivenza e dello stesso diritto internazionale, che superi definitivamente la vecchia impostazione degli Stati che rivendicano una propria sovranità esterna assoluta e che tra di loro potevano soltanto o trattare, contrattare o farsi guerra. In questo senso l'Europa politica ha preceduto nettamente l'Europa economica. Se questo è stato possibile è anche perché nei paesi europei, nel dopoguerra, si sono affermate forze politiche che in quegli ideali credevano profondamente, partiti nazionali che però avevano in comune una visione della cooperazione internazionale. In questo quadro il nazionalismo, che fino alla seconda guerra era stato un elemento motore della politica in Europa, che aveva portato al superamento degli imperi multinazionali, ma anche a frequenti conflitti territoriali, e che da ultimo, negli anni 30 e 40 del Novecento, era diventato in forme estreme base e giustificazione di regimi fascisti, questo nazionalismo vede il suo ruolo come definitivamente superato. Non possiamo più essere né dirci nazionalisti. Non possiamo più intendere le nazioni come potenze, la cui vitalità si estrinseca nella guerra e nella conquista. Né possiamo intendere le nazioni come entità ripiegate su se stesse e chiuse ciascuna agli appelli e ai drammi del sud del mondo. E se è vero che nel quasi cinquantennio della guerra fredda un'altra linea divisoria ha attraversato l'Europa, è anche vero che questa guerra è rimasta per fortuna sempre fredda e non ha impedito del tutto forme di collaborazione internazionale, a partire dalla fondazione dell'ONU e dall'affermarsi dell'ideale universalistico dei diritti umani. E la fine della guerra fredda, con la scomparsa dell'Unione Sovietica, la riunificazione tedesca e l'ingresso nell'Europa unita di popoli fino ad allora rimasti tagliati fuori da questa esperienza, ha consentito di riprendere insieme, nel nuovo contesto, il cammino inaugurato dai padri dell'Europa. Senza questo tessuto ideale l'Europa sarebbe solo un'espressione geografica. Allora la domanda è: quanto i nostri popoli e i nostri governi credono oggi ancora nell'ideale europeistico? Il cammino accidentato delle istituzioni europee, a partire dal fallimento della comunità di difesa, la resistenza all'unificazione politica in qualche paese, e il successo invece delle istituzioni dell'Europa economica e monetaria, che però, detto tra parentesi, ha portato a uno squilibrio fra istituzioni economiche e monetarie da un lato, istituzioni politiche dall'altro, e da ultimo il doloroso distacco della Gran Bretagna e anche il manifestarsi di una certa apparente freddezza europeistica di stati dell'Est, ci chiede oggi di tornare a volgerci alle radici di questa esperienza, per ritrovarne e per rafforzarne i valori portanti. Se guardo al mio paese, l'Italia, non posso non ricordare che ancora 2 o 3 decenni fa il consenso politico di principio al processo di unificazione politica dell'Europa era altissimo, si può dire unanime. Nel 1989, in occasione della terza elezione del Parlamento europeo, il Parlamento italiano varò una legge costituzionale con cui indiceva un referendum popolare sull'unità europea. Legge promossa per iniziativa di parlamentari del Partito Comunista e della Democrazia Cristiana, nonché di 3 consigli regionali. Legge approvata col voto favorevole di tutti i gruppi parlamentari, di maggioranza e di opposizione, dall'estrema sinistra all'estrema destra. In 4 votazioni, nelle 2 Camere, si ebbe solo un voto contrario e un'astensione. E il quesito era quello: se si chiedeva ai cittadini se ritenevano che si debba procedere alla trasformazione delle comunità europee in una effettiva unione, dotata di un governo responsabile di fronte al Parlamento, affidando allo stesso Parlamento europeo il mandato di redigere un progetto di Costituzione europea. Questo referendum ebbe luogo il 18 giugno 1989 e l'esito fu: votarono l'80,68% degli elettori. Le schede bianche o nulle furono l'11,82%. Voti favorevoli 88,03%. Voti contrari 11,97%. Come si sa, il tentativo di varare una Costituzione europea venne compiuto col Trattato del 2004, che però non entrò mai in vigore a causa dell'esito negativo dei referendum in Francia e in Olanda. Ma per quanto riguarda l'Italia, la legge di ratifica del Trattato sulla Costituzione europea venne approvata nel 2005, ancora una volta con votazioni pressoché unanimi. Alla Camera solo 28 contrari e 5 astenuti, al Senato 16 contrari e nessuno astenuto. Non è passato un secolo da allora, solo 15 anni. L'Italia era già entrata nella zona euro dal 99 e l'Europa economica aveva fatto passi notevoli, ma non così l'Europa politica. E oggi, anche in Italia, sembrano crescere atteggiamenti di scetticismo, se non di avversione, a un vero processo di unificazione politica. Assistiamo a una ripresa e a una diffusione di proclamazioni nazionalistiche, a un frequente richiamo alla presunta necessità di difendere gli interessi nazionali, spesso addirittura contrapponendoli agli interessi di altre nazioni europee. Si pensi a quello che è accaduto e sta accadendo in Libia. Che cosa è successo da allora per avere prodotto apparentemente una così brusca inversione del consenso popolare rispetto al processo di unificazione europea? La Gran Bretagna, si sa, ha deciso la propria uscita con un voto popolare, peraltro tutt'altro che massiccio e controverso. Ma in altri paesi, e così in Italia, sembra che si manifesti oggi un processo di allontanamento e non di ulteriore avvicinamento all'ideale di un'Europa unita. La spiegazione non sta nella crisi economica, che anzi richiederebbe più unità e non meno unità, e non sta nei nuovi assetti ed equilibri o squilibri internazionali, che anzi mostrano sempre di più come un'Europa disunita tenda a scomparire come soggetto politico mondiale. Infatti non riesce a farsi promotrice di politiche internazionali adeguate a perseguire quei fini di pace e di giustizia fra le nazioni che stanno nella Carta dell'ONU e nella Costituzione italiana anche, e che sono il frutto di quella grande svolta universalistica seguita alla Seconda Guerra Mondiale. Il frutto di quello che avevamo pensato essere la definitiva fine dei miti pericolosi del nazionalismo prepotente e bellicista. Miti o incubi che la unificazione dell'Europa avrebbe dovuto definitivamente seppellire, secondo gli ideali dei padri dell'Europa. Ora, la ripresa e lo sviluppo di quegli ideali richiede, prima di tutto, una nuova consapevolezza politico-culturale. E questa, per alimentarsi e per svilupparsi, richiede che vi siano organismi collettivi intermedi fra la cittadinanza e le istituzioni, non solo a livello locale e nazionale, ma a livello europeo. Abbiamo bisogno di veri partiti europei, che sappiano farsi promotori e diffusori delle idee forza di una nuova Europa politica unita. L'Italia, da questo punto di vista, ha subito e subisce l'effetto negativo del collasso seguito alle note vicende del 1992-94 del suo storico sistema dei partiti. Proprio quei partiti che nel 1989 all'unanimità peroravano la causa della nuova Costituzione europea. Ma i partiti europei, che sulla carta pure esistono, prima di tutto quelli che nelle loro origini e nelle loro denominazioni si richiamano alle forze e alle tradizioni politiche che storicamente hanno dato l'impulso iniziale alla costruzione europea, quei partiti oggi rappresentano poco più che vuote etichette e strumenti di collegamento organizzativo fra soggetti politici che sono però strettamente e sempre più nazionali e che sono anche molto diversi e talvolta distanti fra di loro. Questi partiti europei dovrebbero invece darsi il nuovo e fondamentale compito di avviare una riflessione comune e un processo di autoidentificazione e di iniziativa politica comune, capace di dare nuovo impulso alla costruzione, nel nuovo mondo in cui viviamo, di quella Europa unita che i padri fondatori hanno inaugurato e che è responsabilità di chi oggi la rappresenta, di tutti noi, implementare e non disperdere. Grazie.
Valerio, grazie tante per un intervento che mi sembra opportuno perché discutiamo delle cose che vogliamo fare ora per la situazione internazionale, per la relazione tra il livello nazionale a livello competenziale e il livello europeo, ma mi sembra che il tuo intervento ci ha portato, diciamo, in mente anche gli obiettivi originali della costruzione europea, che hanno anche qualche rilevanza costituzionale. Io qualche volta penso alla dichiarazione di Schuman del 1950 che dice molte cose, non ci fu l'Europa, ci fu la guerra, non si farà da una sola costruzione, c'è la menzione allo sviluppo dell'Africa, già vediamo la lungimiranza di questa dichiarazione nel 1950, ma c'è anche l'oggettivo dell'unificazione politica. Tu hai utilizzato questa espressione, no? Unificazione politica, quando si dice che la comunità del carbone e dell'acciaio è il primo passo per la federazione europea. Quindi abbiamo anche obiettivi costituzionali di lunga data che dobbiamo anche avere in mente. Ricordo il vecchio presidente del Parlamento europeo, José María Gil Robles, che diceva che l'Europa è un processo costituzionale perpetuo, cioè sempre è in costruzione anche a livello costituzionale sin dall'inizio. Quindi grazie ancora, do la parola al professor Aldecoa, presidente del Movimiento Europeo en España, profesor de Relaciones catedrático de Relaciones Internacionales en la Universidad Complutense de Madrid y una persona que lleva algo así como 30 años dedicado a los asuntos europeos desde el ámbito académico y desde el activismo en la sociedad civil proeuropea. Querido Pachi, tienes la palabra. Sé que has preparado una intervención muy detallada porque me la has enviado, pero trata, por favor, de hacer tu presentación en 10-12 minutos.
Muchas gracias, Domenech, por tu presentación y por darme la oportunidad de estar aquí en este foro que me parece fantástico. He estado escuchando con atención y he escrito varias cosas de las que he oído y, además, precisamente por eso, no voy a seguir el texto que tenía escrito, sino que voy a intentar trasladar pues, la voz de la sociedad civil, como nos dice en este documento. Y voy a hacer algo que me dejaré cosas, porque siempre que no se lee o no se improvisa, pero también recogiendo gran parte de las cosas que he escuchado aquí, en esta mesa, en la anterior, que me han satisfecho mucho. Para empezar, parto de la reflexión del documento de trabajo de noviembre que hizo este grupo, el Grupo Socialista de la Comisión Constitucional, que verdaderamente es muy lúcido, acierta plenamente en su planteamiento. Pero a mí me gustaría dar la impresión que tengo al día de hoy. Y la impresión que tengo al día de hoy es que estamos en un nuevo clima político europeo. En un clima político europeo que todavía no recogen, por lo menos los medios españoles. Recogen, sin embargo, los eurobarómetros, donde se ve que en los 3 o 4 últimos años hay un cambio profundo respecto a la percepción de los ciudadanos, especialmente estudiado el de noviembre, en donde confirma los 7 anteriores que precisamente desde el Brexit, desde junio del 2016, cambia de una forma importante la percepción de los ciudadanos europeos. Y al mismo tiempo, habéis hablado varios de la oportunidad. Estamos en una oportunidad importante, dentro de muchos nubarrones y después de una crisis tremenda. Una oportunidad que permite plantear un impulso nuevo a través de la conferencia, la convención y la conferencia intergubernamental, según mi punto de vista, que no podemos saltarnos ninguna etapa. Pero esa nueva situación, creo que tenemos que revalorizar lo que ha ocurrido. Bueno, en primer lugar, mi texto partía de la declaración de Schuman, que tú has hecho referencia, de 1950, en donde nace el proyecto federal europeo. Y no por lo que diga yo, sino porque lo dice el propio texto. Primer paso, primera etapa en la Federación Europea. Y desde luego, la historia de estos 70 años es una federación en construcción, que es el título del papel que yo he preparado. En donde esa federación en construcción es imperfecta. Yo estoy dentro de los profesores que entendemos que el modelo actual es un modelo de federalismo intergubernamental. Es un modelo, por ejemplo, que Hermón y Croissant y otros muchos venimos desarrollando la idea de que es a la vez una unión de ciudadanos y estados, en donde la Constitución quedó muy claro en el artículo 1, que nace de la vocación de los ciudadanos y de los estados, pero que después, en el Tratado de Lisboa, se recoge el 80% de la Constitución, se rescata la misma y se rescata ese modelo de federalismo intergubernamental, ese modelo que tiene una raíz federal, que precisamente está evocada aquí en el Parlamento Europeo, y existe un contrapeso gubernamental. Está claro que los cambios futuros que hay que hacer es reforzar lo federal y relativizar lo intergubernamental. Pero, sobre todo, yo creo que la conferencia nace en una fantástica oportunidad. En una fantástica oportunidad donde en los 3 últimos años ha habido un cierto relanzamiento europeo. Y gracias, yo creo que hay que decirlo así, aunque nos dé pena, de que se ha ido el Reino Unido, que a lo largo de estos 47 años ha estado obstruyendo el desarrollo de la vocación federal. Y no es solamente una expresión, es recordar que en Maastricht, el último día, el primer ministro británico, estaba redactado el artículo 1 donde se decía que la Unión Europea tiene una vocación federal, exigió su retirada. Ahora que se van, habría que ponerlo. Ahora que ya no tenemos ese constreñimiento, tendríamos que incorporar de alguna forma. En todo caso, desde mi punto de vista, la tarea de la conferencia es importante. Y tiene que aprovechar estas 3 nuevas, diríamos, instrumentos, indicadores que explican una nueva legitimidad que es de los últimos 6 meses. Cuando hablo del nuevo ambiente político europeo, el primer dato es las elecciones de mayo del 19, en donde hay una participación de un 10% más que tiene verdadero significado y simbolismo, ya que no hay que olvidar que el Reino Unido no votaron más que el 35% y que en los países del este tampoco subieron mucho más del 35%, de tal forma que fuimos a datos del 94, a pesar de que se había producido la ampliación y en estos países la participación es muy pequeña. Luego, si quitamos eso, como hay algún estudio, es el 60 o el 62%. Es una participación estupenda. La segunda reflexión es, la presidenta de la Comisión ya ha nacido como consecuencia de los resultados electorales. Hombre, a muchos nos hubiera gustado que se aplicara el sistema del Spitzenkandidat, pero, sin embargo, se aplica la lógica del tratado, que es el artículo 17.7, que dice bien claro que, teniendo en cuenta los resultados electorales, se nombrará, el Consejo presentará a un presidente de la Comisión que será votado por el Parlamento Europeo. Y así ocurrió. El 15 y 16 de julio ustedes votaron a la candidata por 9 votos de diferencia respecto a la mayoría absoluta. Y es lo que recuerdan los periódicos, que ganó por poco. Pero lo que tenemos que recordar, los que creemos en el proyecto y queremos profundizarlo, es que el 27 de septiembre ustedes le aprobaron a la comisión completa con el 65% de los presentes y el 60% de la Cámara. Luego, ese respaldo, ustedes me corregirán, pero no creo que tiene ningún primer ministro de ninguno de los 27 Estados miembros. Ni es difícil encontrar ejemplos parecidos. Es decir, tiene una legitimidad la actual comisión como no ha tenido nunca nadie. Y, por lo tanto, hay que aprovechar ese enorme impulso. Es parte de esta nueva política europea en la que estamos. Y, por último, desde luego, los eurobarómetros no pueden ser más claros. Hay un 60 o un 70% de media, incluso en países como Hungría y Polonia, que apuestan por ampliación de competencias a la Unión en temas como defensa, política exterior, fiscal, mercado interior, lo que quieran. Por lo tanto, esa es la oportunidad que tenemos que aprovechar. ¿Cómo surge la conferencia? Pues la conferencia surge, no sé cómo surge, pero desde luego cuando verdaderamente le seguimos es cuando la presidenta van der Leyen, en su discurso de investidura, dice que quiere convocar una conferencia, por cierto, en pie de igualdad con la sociedad, y ahora voy a ese tema, en pie de igualdad con la sociedad, y que además señala expresamente la posibilidad de que sea la reforma de los tratados. Yo no tengo duda que hay que reformar los tratados. Yo no tengo duda que hay que reformar por razones coyunturales, por razones concretas específicas, porque no está la migración, porque la decisión en política exterior hay que cambiarla, en política fiscal también, no vale la pasarela, en fin, hay diversas cuestiones técnicas. Pero lo que le corresponde a la conferencia, a mi juicio, es recoger la percepción del ciudadano, la que vemos en las encuestas, pero sin embargo no tenemos interlocutores que nos lo expliquen en sus palabras. Y eso es lo que debe hacer la conferencia. Por eso insisto, es imprescindible que en la conferencia no solo estén los representantes de las instituciones, sino que en pie de igualdad, como dijo la propia presidenta de la Comisión, estén los representantes de las organizaciones sociales, de la sociedad civil. En mi caso represento una, que es el Movimiento Europeo. En este caso, el Consejo Federal Español del Movimiento Europeo. Saben ustedes que tiene una historia brillante. Nació en el exilio en París en el año 49, en febrero. Después ha ido teniendo un desarrollo grande, produjo hechos como Múnich, no sé si ustedes se acordarán, en donde fue la primera vez que precisamente en una sede del Parlamento Europeo se consiguió unir a la oposición interna y externa. Y esa fue la labor del Movimiento Europeo Internacional que posibilitó, y nosotros los españoles que nos pusimos de acuerdo unos y otros. Después el Movimiento Europeo jugó papeles claves en la transición española. Tan es así que gran parte de las reuniones de la transición de la Junta se celebraron en nuestra oficina de Gran Vía, en donde a partir de la Constitución ya se incorporó el Movimiento Europeo a España. Yo ahora presido ese movimiento. Me siento muy orgulloso. Y estamos en un momento en que creemos que tenemos la legitimidad, dado que hemos estado desde el principio. Indalecio Prieto, José Antonio Aguirre, Madariaga, estuvieron en La Haya en el 48. ¿Cómo no vamos a estar nosotros en un momento en que se produce esta transformación que es la conferencia? Desde mi punto de vista, el objetivo de la conferencia tiene que ser acercar Europa a los ciudadanos y los ciudadanos a Europa, a través de una relación directa, en donde tienen que estar representantes de las instituciones, tal y como en estos documentos que habéis hecho aquí aparecen, pero también, y hecho en falta, una representación de la sociedad civil directa, la que ha estado vibrando, incorporando, funcionando en los últimos 70 y especialmente en los 2 o 3 o 4. Y hay distintas secciones del Movimiento Europeo Internacional que tienen pleno peso para poder aportar algo y para poder... Yo no creo en una elección alícuota por sorteo de quiénes son los que tienen que ver o qué dicen. Yo creo que hay que ponerle cara y ojos y tenemos que estar los que hemos estado toda la vida peleándonos, como ha estado Dastoli, que lo conozco. Personalmente tengo que decir que yo fui asistente de un diputado español, de Carlos Bru, en el año 86. Y desde entonces vibro con este asunto. Y por lo tanto reivindico que estén las asociaciones de la sociedad civil presentes en esta situación, en esta conferencia. Para terminar, creo que la conferencia tiene su papel y que es un método nuevo. Es distinta a la convención. La convención fue fantástica, elaboró la Constitución. Y después el Tratado de Lisboa lo rescató. Pero, sin embargo, ahora hay que partir de otra manera, de dar un paso más en el acercamiento de las sugerencias, de las demandas sociales efectivas que tiene la propia sociedad. Y para eso hay que cambiar del método, hay que hacer un método previo. Después viene la convención, ahí están las instituciones, que le darán forma jurídica concreta a ese proyecto colectivo. Y después tendrá que pasar, a mi juicio, aunque ya sé que hay otras interpretaciones, por un tratado que sea el que reforme. Por lo tanto, agradezco mucho haberme expresado sin un papel, en donde les he dicho lo que siento de verdad en relación al nuevo momento político, la importante labor que están haciendo ustedes y que tenemos que hacernos todos, y que los que estamos en la sociedad civil también creo que podemos aportar algo. Muchas gracias.
Bueno, muchísimas gracias, querido Pachi, por esta síntesis. De todos modos, el documento no se va a perder porque lo incluiremos en la publicación, si lo quieres ampliar con las cosas que has improvisado y que no están en el papel. Pero me parece muy relevante el trabajo que has hecho de desmontar un mito, que es el dar por hecho que la ciudadanía o grandes sectores de la ciudadanía no apoyan el proyecto europeo. Y tú lo has hecho con base a la evidencia empírica. Es una cosa que repiten desafortunadamente muchos periodistas y creadores de opinión, particularmente en España, pero no solo, que es otra de las cosas que tú siempre has, digamos, puesto de relieve, pero la mejora de los eurobarómetros, como tú has dicho, desde el Brexit, desde el referéndum del Brexit, es muy claro, un aumento sostenido de apoyo a la Unión y al euro, como no se ha visto en 20 o 30 años, desde que se hacen los eurobarómetros, un aumento de la participación en las elecciones europeas y una victoria clara de los partidos políticos proeuropeos. Entonces, bueno, partamos de esto. Por supuesto que podemos acercar más Europa a los ciudadanos, mejorar su implicación, pero no ganaron los nacionalpopulistas, como algunos decían, no alcanzaron el 30% de la Cámara. Entonces, partamos de la realidad. Y como has hecho también reflexiones sobre la conferencia, yo creo que procede ahora dar la palabra a mi colega de grupo parlamentario, Gabi Bischoff, que es la vicepresidenta de la Comisión de Asuntos Constitucionales y ha sido además la persona que ha representado al Grupo Parlamentario Socialista en el grupo de trabajo del Parlamento Europeo que ha elaborado nuestra posición, es decir, lo que el Parlamento Europeo piensa sobre cómo debe ser la conferencia sobre el futuro de Europa. Así que, Gabi, vielen Dank. The floor is yours.
Gracias. Yes, it's a pleasure to be here in this very important debate. And I have to say, I'm coming from a party that 1925, between the two wars, took up in their program the demand for the United States of Europe. And we have seen that over the years, the perception of what we mean by this, what is our vision and what is our idea how it should work, changes over the time. And we are now at a time where we also as a party have to redefine what our vision is and where we want to go. And I think I would also like to remind that 1955, Jean Monnet started the Action Committee on the United States of Europe. And he did not start it with the governments. He did start it with politicians, with parties, and at that time with the social partners, meaning representatives of trade unions and employers' organization. And what they wanted to create is a vision, a proposal, and to mobilize the citizens for this project. Because if they would have left it to the governments, I have my doubts that we would be here where we are with a European Union. And as many people said, we are now at a point where we really, after years of crisis and for the first time having a member leaving us, that we have to regain this spirit and this force. And as Maria said, it is the citizens that can develop this sort of mobilization if we do it right. And I have to say, we are here meeting at a crucial point. Yes, I think we have a good paper to discuss the content and the architecture, where we want to go. But we also have to discuss the strategy. And I have to say, yes, we worked very hard in the European Parliament to have a broad consensus on a concrete proposal and a resolution. And we achieved this. But we are at a crucial point. And the point is that the Commission did a communication that is neither cold nor warm. They don't, I mean, in former times, the Commission was a motor for integration. But now, if you look at the proposal, it says, yes, we are waiting for the Parliament, and we are waiting for the Council, and we are open to everything, and yes, we want to do citizens' consultations, but we always said in the Parliament, we either play it right now, or we should not do it, because we will frustrate people. We said, we want a meaningful dialogue, that leads to concrete proposals. We don't want a dialogue to have a dialogue. And if I look at the draft proposal for the document and the position of the Council, I say, if we don't develop much more pressure now as civil society, as politicians, we will not have that. We will have a conference, yes. So we are talking about the same, but the structure they want is not to have an institutional panel where you really have feedback loops and an exchange with citizens and civil society. But what they want is a couple of conferences, one in the beginning, one in the middle, one in the end, with different stakeholders. Yes, national parliaments. Yes, also European parliamentarians. Yes, governments, but not an organized, structured process where positions can build up with the support of debate with civil society and with citizens. And this we should not allow to happen, because we have to be aware. This is, and you all said it, this might be our last chance to really reconnect Europe with the citizens and to move forward. And if we don't do this, I fear that Europe will continue to do business as usual, to muddle through, and in the end this will be a slow death, but it will be a death. And therefore, I think we really have to see we have a big responsibility at the moment. I think, therefore, it's a very timely debate, also because we, as the S&D group, we have to be the motor. We are the motor, but it means now that we have to speak out and that we also have to convince our friends in the Council to not allow this to happen. Thank you very much.
Gabi, you've been shorter than I thought. I was expecting more, because I was liking a lot what you were saying. But I think that you're right. We need to be very tough in our negotiation with Council and Commission to raise the level of ambition for the conference.
Can I say?
Yeah.
Yes, I didn't want to repeat, because I said the main points were said here. We need to rebalance economic rights, economic freedoms and social rights. We need a real democracy. Maria drafted it out in a very perfect way, and I think we don't need to repeat it, because this is the DNA of our party. This is our position here, and I think, but now I think it's a crucial moment where the next step are decisive if we will ever come to something like this, or if we just repeat what we did in the last 2 years. We had citizens' dialogues, thousands of them, and we had a little report to the European Council, and nothing happened.
Thank you very much, Gabi, for your contribution and your hard work on elaborating the position of the Parliament, which I think has been universally endorsed by all our allies. The SPD is a key political party in our European Social Democratic family. We, as a European Socialist Party, we are part of the European Movement International, so that's why I'm also very glad that we have 2 people from the European movement. We are part of that structure, and we share certainly we share your ambitions. E per questo do la parola a Pier Virgilio Dastoli, che è il presidente del Movimento Europeo in Italia, ma ha fatto tante cose, soprattutto direi collaboratore più diretto, no? O il principale collaboratore di Altiero Spinelli, uno dei padri fondatori, autore del manifesto di Ventotene, tra altre cose, un manifesto che già nel 1942 diceva che l'Europa doveva essere un'Europa dei lavoratori, quindi questa idea dell'Europa sociale era già nel manifesto di Ventotene. Il manifesto di Ventotene non era soltanto un manifesto federalista, ma era anche un manifesto per l'Europa sociale. Quindi Pier Virgilio, se puoi in 10-12 minuti, grazie, e fare la tua presentazione.
Grazie Domenech per questo invito, grazie al gruppo socialista di questo dibattito. Io ho letto con attenzione il documento del gruppo dello scorso novembre. Da allora ci sono state delle novità, dei nuovi passi. non tutti in avanti, alcuni passi sono indietro, anzi molto indietro, e quindi vale la pena di esaminare quel documento anche alla luce di quello che è avvenuto nelle settimane successive, la risoluzione del Parlamento europeo del 15 di gennaio, la comunicazione della Commissione del 22 di gennaio, e poi, anche se questi documenti non sono, diciamo così, ufficiali, non sono pubblicati sui siti, il resoconto della riunione del Consiglio Affari Generali del 28 gennaio, che vale la pena di leggere con attenzione, e il draft della Presidenza croata inviato l'altro ieri al Coreper. Diciamo che leggendo questi documenti risulta molto chiaro che siamo ancora ben lontani da un accordo sulle questioni essenziali. Non c'è accordo sul contenuto, sul mandato della conferenza, non c'è accordo sulla composizione della conferenza, non c'è accordo sulla governance, come ci dice la conferenza, non c'è accordo sull'outcome della conferenza, non c'è accordo su nulla sostanzialmente. Se mi consentite, io vorrei dire che ci troviamo di fronte a due visioni contrapposte, che vorrei sintetizzare in questo modo. Mi perdoni Valerio, Onida, se le sintetizzo con un linguaggio, diciamo così, giuridico. Il primo è che la prima posizione, la prima visione che si ritrova nel Consiglio del 28 di gennaio e anche, e questo è grave, nel testo preparato dalla Presidenza croata, che posso chiamare una posizione immobilista, di chi ritiene che la conferenza debba occuparsi delle cose che sono di responsabilità del potere costituito. Il potere costituito vuol dire il potere che deve sviluppare degli accordi relativi alle politiche dell'Unione quali sono oggi. E se voi leggete con attenzione il dibattito nel Consiglio e il testo della Presidenza croata, si dice con chiarezza che bisogna rispettare l'equilibrio fra le istituzioni, l'equilibrio delle istituzioni quale esiste oggi. Come noi sappiamo, l'equilibrio fra le istituzioni come esiste oggi è l'equilibrio che dà la prevalenza, lo diceva al DECOA, al sistema intergovernativo. Io non utilizzerei l'espressione federalismo intergovernativo, che è un ossimoro, preferirei piuttosto usare l'espressione di confederazione piuttosto che di federalismo intergovernativo. Quindi prima di tutto i governi nel loro insieme, senza eccezione, dicono dobbiamo rispettare l'equilibrio fra le istituzioni, l'equilibrio fra le istituzioni, quello di oggi, diciamo. Il secondo punto che dicono è che bisogna rispettare il principio all inclusive, cioè tutti gli stati insieme. Terzo, e questo è scritto nelle conclusioni del Consiglio europeo, mi pare del giugno del 2018, we are the owners of the treaties. Noi siamo i padroni dei trattati. Era scritto in una conclusione del Consiglio europeo. E l'ultima cosa su cui si sono trovati tutti d'accordo è quella secondo la quale, che voi ritrovate nel non-paper franco-tedesco, quello secondo la quale la conferenza può fare delle discussioni per 2 anni, fa delle raccomandazioni, e poi le raccomandazioni della Commissione saranno consegnate al Consiglio europeo, il quale discuterà e deciderà. Se questo è l'outcome della conferenza europea, è meglio non farla la conferenza europea. E come posso dire, senza nessuna vergogna, il Consiglio ha detto che la conferenza europea deve discutere dell'agenda strategica adottata dal Consiglio europeo nel giugno del 2019, cioè di qualcosa che riguarda il passato piuttosto che il futuro. Allora questa è la visione immobilista, che però voi la ritrovate non soltanto nel Consiglio, perché anche il dibattito stamattina ci ha fatto capire che in questo Parlamento, in tutti i gruppi, ci sono anche delle posizioni immobiliste. Questa è la prima visione. La seconda visione è quella che io chiamerei innovatrice. E allora in questa visione si ritrova nel documento del gruppo socialista, nei 4 o 5 punti essenziali, si ritrova in buona parte nella risoluzione del Parlamento europeo, si ritrova ben poco nel testo della Commissione del 22 di gennaio e questa posizione dice con molta chiarezza che bisogna andare al di là dell'equilibrio istituzionale come esiste oggi, che la conferenza deve essere il luogo del potere costituente, non del potere costituito. C'è una distinzione non marginale, che non bisogna sostenere il principio dell'all inclusive member states, ma dell'integrazione differenziata. E che l'ultima cosa, che il risultato della conferenza non può essere messo nelle mani del Consiglio europeo, ma se noi dobbiamo rispettare il principio che è scritto nel preambolo della Costituzione tedesca, secondo la quale il potere costituente è del popolo, è scritto nel preambolo della Costituzione tedesca, il potere costituente appartiene al popolo. E quindi noi non possiamo accettare il principio secondo il quale il risultato della conferenza significa mettere tutto nelle mani del Consiglio europeo. Allora, se il potere costituente deve essere, e se noi dobbiamo essere coerenti con le 4 o 5 cose essenziali che ci sono nel documento del gruppo socialista di novembre, questo vuol dire che la conferenza deve discutere del futuro dell'Europa e non delle politiche attuali, e che poi in questa conferenza deve in qualche modo emergere un consenso secondo il quale, questo lo dice il documento socialista, lo dice la risoluzione del Parlamento, bisogna riconoscere il leading role del Parlamento europeo, il ruolo di leadership del Parlamento europeo, e questo vuol dire che però se bisogna fare una riforma costituzionale profonda, come dice il gruppo socialista, vuol dire cambiare i trattati, per dirla con chiarezza. Per cambiare i trattati bisogna capire chi deve cambiarli, e questo chi deve cambiarli non può che essere il Parlamento europeo, che deve costruire, e mi avvio alla conclusione, dentro la conferenza un accordo, ma un accordo soprattutto con i Parlamenti nazionali, perché i Parlamenti nazionali e il Parlamento europeo rappresentano insieme l'elemento essenziale della democrazia rappresentativa, e quindi dalla conferenza deve emergere questo accordo. Da questo accordo deve emergere questo ruolo di leadership del Parlamento europeo. Il Parlamento europeo deve elaborare un progetto costituzionale di riforma dell'Unione in vista delle elezioni europee del 2024. Valerio Onida ricordava il referendum del 1989, che fu dovuto anche all'iniziativa del movimento federalista e del movimento europeo. Noi dobbiamo considerare che le elezioni europee del 2024 possono essere in qualche modo una sorta di referendum paneuropeo, cioè che tutti insieme i cittadini, andando a votare, discutono, e questo è il ruolo importante dei partiti europei, che per ora hanno violato e hanno ignorato l'articolo 10 del Trattato di Lisbona, che dice che i partiti devono formare la coscienza europea dei cittadini e devono rappresentare le loro esigenze. Questo articolo 10 i partiti europei finora lo hanno ignorato, e allora le elezioni europee devono essere il luogo in qualche modo nel quale si discute del progetto di riforma dell'Unione, del potere costituente, cioè al di là dei trattati, una sorta di referendum paneuropeo. Questo è secondo me la roadmap su cui bisogna lavorare. Il Parlamento europeo deve rifiutarsi. Io mi aspetto una rivolta, e concludo, rispetto al testo della presidenza croata, le conclusioni del Consiglio degli Affari Generali del 28 di gennaio, dove per esempio hanno ignorato le parti sociali, hanno detto che il Comitato Economico e Sociale deve essere un osservatore, hanno in qualche modo ignorato anche l'idea della democrazia partecipativa. Allora io spero che il Parlamento europeo nei prossimi giorni, nelle prossime settimane, reagisca con molto vigore alle posizioni immobiliste del Consiglio, che appunto, come dicevo prima, vuole conservare l'equilibrio fra le istituzioni di oggi, che è inaccettabile, vuole dare alla conferenza il potere costituito, cioè delle politiche attuali e non al di fuori delle politiche attuali il potere costituente. Il Parlamento europeo su questo deve reagire con molta forza, e io spero che nel Parlamento europeo emerga una linea innovatrice e non una linea immobilista. Ci sono immobilisti nel Parlamento europeo, ci sono innovatori. Spinelli diceva che in tutti i Parlamenti esistono 3 aree: una minoranza di immobilisti, una minoranza di innovatori, ma vince chi conquista la terza area del Parlamento, che è la palude. Vince chi conquista la maggioranza della palude. Spinelli nel 1984 ha vinto perché il progetto Spinelli ha conquistato la maggioranza della palude, e hanno vinto gli innovatori e hanno perso gli immobilisti. Spero che nelle prossime settimane nel Parlamento europeo la minoranza degli innovatori riesca a conquistare la maggioranza della palude. Grazie.
Well, thank you very much, Pier Virgilio, because you have been able to deliver your speech just before the end of the interpretation. But I want to thank the interpreters for staying with us until the very end and for their hard work. And I think, Virgilio, you're very right. I think we have to take into account the election in 2024 to the European Parliament as a possible foundation moment or constituent moment, no? That will come after the conference and maybe, the other steps to which Francisco Aldecoa referred. So now we will proceed only in English, but we still have one speaker and then we'll have time for debate. I see another MEP that has joined the discussion. So without further ado, I give the floor to Mr. Professor Olivier Costa of the College of Europe in Bruges for his presentation. So please.
Thank you very much. I was instructed to speak in French, but nevertheless I can make it in English, if it's better. There is sort of a tradition for me to come to hearings of the Socialist Party and not being able to speak, but I mean, it's fun anyway. What I wanted to come back to is about the Conference on the Future of Europe, and been brainstorming with some colleagues from the civil society, some in that room, about the ways to be sure that the conference would lead to real changes. And this has been addressed already by several persons. Many people are focusing on the way to have a conference that makes sense, that is not only an exercise to legitimize some changes over the legislation and the treaty. And I think it's a very important point, and the European Parliament has been already pushing very much to include as much as possible the civil society in the process. But then there is something else. There is how do we transform what has been proposed by the conference in concrete reforms. And there are two levels of reforms. There are legislative reforms that can be undertaken already by this commission if they are simple reform, maybe by the next one if they are major reform. Magnette was talking earlier about the need for the European Union to fight against poverty. You have been mentioning the need to change the system of multi-annual budgeting and to frame it now with election. These are major changes that will certainly need more time. And then there is another side, which are all the constitutional changes or treaty changes. And I think that a major risk is there, because we don't have a simple solution to change the treaty without taking the risk of the constitutional treaty syndrome, I mean having the treaty rejected in one or several member states. This has happened for the Treaty of Maastricht, for the Treaty of Nice, for the Treaty of Lisbon, and obviously for the constitutional treaty, and I think we need a method to address that issue. So I think that there are three levels here of change. There is, first of all, the question of the change about the Act of 1976 about how to elect the European Parliament and to choose the Commission. In my view, this should not be part of the conference. The European Parliament has been working on that issue for now nearly 60 years. A lot of work has been done in the last time. We were all expecting a change of the rules for the last election. That did not occur. I think it is not worth now starting the debate all over again. The European Parliament has a right to take the initiative on that and should be proposing something to have the transnational list and a formalization of the Spitzenkandidaten, and maybe also more support for European parties that should in a way be privileged in that election. The European Parliament already has thought about that, but we can certainly think about other systems to impose a central role for European parties in that election, not only for the 10% of people on the transnational list, but also for the others. And here is the AFCO committee that needs to work. The second thing is the conference itself, linked in those towards legislative changes. And here I totally agree with what has been said by the other members. We need something which is really open with no taboo to really make sense out of that conference and to give to citizens the feeling that it's not only a procedure. And then certainly, and I hope, we need a new treaty. But then we start with the real problems, because if we want a new treaty, then we need an IGC, or we need a convention, and we need a central role for the European Council, and we need to go through the process of ratification in the member states. And in some country, we will get a referendum because it's compulsory by the constitution, or because it will be again a political choice by the leader, as it was in France already a couple of times. So I have nothing against referendum as a tool of democracy, but they're problematic when it comes to a treaty, because it's an oversimplification of the stakes. Citizens are answering other questions than those that are asked. Very often it's a test for the government, and very often there is a feeling of blackmail by citizens, because it's take it or leave it. Take that treaty of 200 pages or nothing. And it lacks subtlety in my view. I think that there is a solution to that issue, to avoid the situation of having a conference, a treaty change, and then difficulties in the process of ratification. This is to make the EU institution function as political institution. Ms. Rodrigues already underlined the need for the institution to really be in charge of discussing about the budget, for instance, to link that with European election. We have election, we have a majority, we have a program, and then we have a budget which is adapted to that. And budget should not be just left to discussion within the European Council. I think it should be the same for a potential treaty change, because if you compare an election to a referendum, an election allows for subtlety. You can have a sophisticated debate. You can have the citizen who have the feeling that something is going on, that choices are made, and it's not only take it or leave it. So in my view, and in our view, and I see Giorgio in the room here, the idea would be to have the conference running until 2022, but not rush to get a treaty and to have that ratified, because in my view, there is a huge risk of a failure and several referendums that would be lost, or even parliamentary ratification lost in several countries. What we should do is having that debate, having real proposal on the table, sketches for Europe as we propose. Maybe not a fully fledged proposal, maybe several contrasted solution and proposal, and we need to accept also proposal that will go in the direction of less integration, maybe, if this is the will expressed by people within the conference. And then we open a real debate on those proposals. And we prepare for the next election, 2024, and we make that potential treaty change a central discussion within that campaign, with the Spitzenkandidaten, with the transnational list, with a major role for European political parties. And then through those European elections, we'll have some choices made, because we can expect after the election of 2024 of having a coalition emerging like we had last year, like we had in 2014, making choices also for the constitutional issues. And then we could start with a convention or an IGC with a clear mandate by the European electors saying those are the preferences of the parties who want the election. This is the roadmap to change the treaty. We organize the treaty based on that mandate, the treaty change. And at that condition, I guess that it would be easier to have a ratification of that treaty, because there would not be that feeling in the member states that the treaty is once again imposed by some Brussels convention or IGC or by the European Council, but that the treaty is the result of a constitutional sequence where there were real discussion on that issue. The problem is that it takes time. This sends us to 2025, but we don't have the feeling that it is such a long period of time if it allows us to finally have a deep reform of the treaty, and if it gives a bit more guarantees of success in ratification with the creation of that political momentum towards a treaty ratification. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much, Professor Costa. Apologies for not being able to deliver the presentation in French, but fortunately we have overrun the limit of the interpretation. But I think you made your points very well, and I think it's an interesting approach that we have to consider. I will not favor, in any case, lower integration because, in the end, this is a conference for going forward. We should not allow this exercise to be hijacked by the enemies of Europe, national populists, to say that the open debate also includes going backwards. I think that, and the Parliament's resolution made it very clear when it said that the conference will be carried out, in our view, in the spirit of ever closer union. So it's not to go backwards in the integration process because, in a way, goes against what constitutionalists call the intangibility clause. No? So it's, but very interesting approach on the timeline. And now we open up the debate. So please, I give the floor to anyone in the room, MEP or not MEP, for contributions. Keep it short so we can have also reactions from the panel. Giorgio?
Thank you. Apologies, I had to dash off from the meeting. Some of you know I'm responsible for a call on coronavirus, which has been made by the Commission to have researchers work on it. We have 10 times more requests than we expected, so I think it has a success among researchers, but we have to deal with it. I perceive that one of the key issues which will come with the conference is linked to this double nature of the reform that has to be done. As Olivier recalled, the constitutional one, which is in your power of the MEP, and I really pledge, be ambitious, push for an ambitious electoral law. You are asking, I'm working for the Commission, I'm also a member of the European Federalists, and I know the Parliament has always asked for having the right of initiative. Well, for the electoral law, you have it. So take it and really be bold, because beware, I feel the Council is less and less enthusiastic with lists and Spitzenkandidaten. So you can be more enthusiastic, and I feel that some of the groups which have opposed it can be enthusiastic, and you can be enthusiastic today, tomorrow. Why not having a resolution adopted by the 9 May 2020 to mark the 7th year? I know that 3 months is extremely short. Francesco tells me it's impossible. Well, go for it. Huh? It's possible to do that, and then make a real separation with the constituent moment, which will come and then open the debate, and that is what the conference should be about. I think we should not let the conference reopen things which have been discussed for 20 or 30 years. You can go in parallel, get support from it, but I like very much your conclusion, Dominic. It's as much as possible have open debates, but remind that we are in the European Union, so we should try to go forward. Thanks.
Thank you, Giorgio. I know Gabi can answer that, but if we can collect maybe two, three questions. No more questions? Yes. At the back.
Good morning, Justus Schönler, working with Barbara Duden at the Committee of the Regions. One question that didn't come up now is that in the Parliament resolution there was a very clear commitment to the citizens' agoras, which are not mentioned in that way and that form in the other two institutions' responses. So I wanted to see, because I think one of the key challenges will indeed be how to connect the decentralized debates that we want all over Europe to then a European level process, and I think that it's very clear. So again, it's a question on the mechanics, so to speak, on the governance of the process, how to bring those together and how much that will be an element of your fight with the other institutions.
And that will be for Gabi as well, but I don't know if we can have a third. Okay, so Gabi.
I totally agree. I think we will have a parallel process. We have to do our work in the Parliament, in the AFCO anyway, and we are ready to do that. But what we want to do is to have the parallel process of these debates and to take the citizens with us on this way, because this will be essential. If you don't have the governments with you, try to get the citizens with you. It seems to be a good approach in this endeavor to do it and to explain that if you want more democracy and more transparency and not backroom deals, then we need a change of the electoral law, and we need it urgent. And here we also have time frames. We cannot just discuss and discuss, because the next elections will be 2024, and if we don't have these changes ready to be implemented until, I would say, spring or early summer 2022, it will not be in place for the next elections. And I wouldn't go back to go to an election and to face what a lot of people said, you promised us with our vote that we would decide, and then it's just nebbish. They say, it's not valid anymore. And I think this will be essential, that we also try to have this consensus on these essential reforms of the electoral law, and to have a very clear procedure that cannot be bypassed by some heads of government. And the second point, and I think this will be an essential point, the way we concepted the citizens' agora are very important. And it's the key difference to the proposal of the Council. Because we said, if we select European citizens by lot, and we gave criteria so that they represent the whole European society, we will have all different voices of society. It will not only be European enthusiasts. It will be also people with skepticism. But this will be important to bring it in. But then we said we need feedback loops. So the citizens' agoras come up with proposals, and these proposals they will present to the institutional panel, and they will also get the feedback in the end. Why were certain proposals taken on board? Maybe also why were certain proposals not taken on board? And to explain it to them, and this would give a different legitimacy to the proposals. Everyone here said we need concrete proposals at the end. And the concept of the Council is very simple. Have broad debates, not so many European debates, more national, organized debates, and then have no concrete outcome. Have lists of proposals given to the European Council, and, I quote, they do a report. We had that. I encourage you to read the report to the European Council on the last citizens' involvement. This will be a process that will not have at the end any concrete proposals. And I agree, we have to be careful, because what we are doing is not a convention, but it's the preheating period for a convention, also to test how much appetite is there in society, is there with citizens for the changes we are talking about. Either treaty changes or also changes in policies. And therefore, I think that the debate about the architecture is a debate, in reality, a fight on what outcomes are possible, or by a certain structure, I prevent that there will be, in the end, concrete outcomes. And this is the battle where we are standing. It's a crucial point, because otherwise we will not have what we want, is that Europe refocuses on its strength and that it faces its weaknesses and changes it to be a strong player again. But what the Council proposes, in my view, is business as usual and just a nice new decoration, a conference of Europe. And I think we have to support them, that they can develop more courage to go along and to not let it happen that this will be another wave of citizens' dialogues that in the end are not meant to have really concrete outcomes and to take citizens serious in this process. Thank you.
Thank you, Gabi. I myself, my capacity as a coordinator, fully agree with you. That on the reform of the electoral law, we are going to move forward in the Committee of Constitutional Affairs. Of course, the conference can debate about transnational lists. They are more than welcome to do so, but obviously that cannot be a ploy to delay a process that, as you very well said, is going to take the 5 years of the Parliament. We cannot wait until the end of the conference to start working on this legislative dossier, which is our competence, as Giorgio very well said. So, and also what you said on the Citizens Agora. Maybe just one, I know Joao wants to intervene, but on the question of the referenda, I'm also very worried of referenda because they most of the time are used to give an answer to the question that is not being asked. You know, thinking on clearly that's my interpretation at least of the French referendum in 2005. No? And also the Dutch referendum, which was, if you remember, mostly driven by the question of migration, which was not really at the heart of, you mentioned that was not even in the branch of policies, was not updated in the Lisbon Treaty. But maybe there is a difference to be made in response to what Dastoli and Costa said between national referenda and a pan-European referendum alongside the European election, or to consider the European election in itself, no, an informal referendum on a constitutional project that is being put forward to the European public. So I think there is a bit of room, maybe a room of maneuver, no, in that context. But now, Joao.
Also to intervene in the discussion which is happening now, because Gabi raised the issue of what should be the political strategy to move forward. This is extremely important. My assumption is that the task of this conference should be to come up with an agenda as precise as possible on the way the European Union should work in the future to deliver what is necessary. But then, imagine that the conference comes up with a powerful agenda. We need to make this happen. And this is the problem now we are discussing. And look, I completely agree with already the opinions expressed that when it comes implications for treaty changes, we learn from the past that submitting this to a direct referendum is extremely risky. Nevertheless, we know that we need the strength coming from citizens to create the conditions for a big change. So how can we get this strength? I see two ways. One is on developing a powerful method to consult them all over the conference, to define the agenda. And second, yes, I agree, should happen during European elections. Not in the sense of voting a detailed agenda, but in the sense of voting the main references, which should then be used by the upcoming European Parliament to do its job. So this is exactly your idea. I think this makes sense. So I think this talk has been very useful to define the right sequence. But I would like to draw your attention for another problem. We also have very different opinions among European citizens. And sometimes we even have not only lack of information, prejudices, wrong ideas, even between countries. So we need to invent a method to allow us to understand much better each other. The famous oppositions between people from the north, the south, the west, they exist. We cannot just assume that they don't exist, they exist. And so we need to have, on one hand, actors to make the bridge, and we need to have opportunities for these citizens to know each other and to understand each other. How can we do this? By the way, we design the meeting moments, this cannot just be limited to meetings in particular countries. No, we need to have transnational meetings. First thing. Then, the role of media, the famous European public sphere. We are so far from this. We need to have much stronger European media. And then, of course, the European political parties or the European think tanks can also help.
Of course.
So we cannot underestimate this problem. There are differences among European citizens. So we need to build much stronger bridge. Also because we have the linguistic problem. This is not the United States of America. So.
Okay, well, if there are no more questions, I don't know if a last word, no, from Professors Aldecoa and Onida, or from Professor Costa and Mr. Dastoli? No? No last comment?
Only say one thing, because we spoke about referendum. Because normally in the newspapers we read always that when the citizens in Europe are asked, they normally react in a negative way. We have had in Europe 39 referendum in the history, from the first in the United Kingdom on the last. 7 referendum were negative and 32 were positive. So it's not true that normally when we ask citizens to react, they react in a negative way. In the majority of the cases of the referendum in Europe, the 32 referendum on 39 were positive. So we can inform the journalists that when they write these things, they write fake news. That is not true that the citizens normally they react in a negative way. Second point, as you said, in some countries the referendum is juridically or politically binding. From my point of view, to put the citizens all on an equal foot, it could be good to have a pan-European referendum, not individual referendum in the different states. If you have a pan-European referendum, that means that we have a transnational debate. And in the transnational debate, the pro-Europeans will be stronger than the anti-Europeans, because the anti-Europeans are divided in their country. So the pan-European referendum has also the added value that we can develop a real European debate, pushing the political parties, as Valerio Onida said, that can play a role at European level. No, these two elements, I think that we have to think about these two elements.
Olivier?
Yeah, just very briefly. Usually, we teach the students that European parties don't have the same functions as national parties, because there's a world literature explaining what the parties are supposed to do, and European parties are very specific. What European parties are not supposed to do is to educate citizens, to socialize them, to explain them, concept, ideas, etc., etc. I think now it's turn for European parties to take that role in charge, because the conference is going to be a disaster if we don't have structures like the European Party to go towards the citizens and the National Party to explain the stakes, to explain the challenge, to explain the concept. Otherwise, people will just get lost. And once again, it will be a debate only located in Brussels between knowledgeable people.
Well, thank you very much for the last inputs. I think it has been a very valuable discussion. We will continue perfecting our group paper. We'll try to have a wider discussion among the entire S&D group. And we will be in touch for the follow-up. And I want to thank you, all of you that have stayed with us until the very end. I hope you have a good takeaway of the takeaway, I think it's called, of the conference, and also thank you to the MEPs that have stayed with us throughout. Estrella Dura from the Spanish delegation. I see Mia Petra from the Finnish delegation is still with us. Barbara Duden from the previous panel that has stayed with us. So thanks again to all of you, and we will keep you posted about the next step.
I think it was very good. Interesting.
Very interesting, very enlightening. No? We have lots of ideas, and we have now to
put all the pieces of the puzzle together, no?